The cure? 6. Unbeknownst to everyone in the heavenly domain, there's in fact a room devoid of sunlight in the Monarch Manor. Aside from the vent hole coming through the entrance door, this place held a suffocating atmosphere to those unused to it, truly a compound normally reserved for the worst of criminals. However, that was not the case here. In fact, it's Ji-song's personal bedroom, the beloved granddaughter of Elder Sky who holds immeasurable power and authority within this estate. At this moment, Song had her body curled up into a fetal position atop of her bed, those limbs shivering from the cold and darkness. Not even she knows how long this painful experience would continue, nor does she know when the light would arrive in her life. Suddenly, the door squealed due to the metal hinges being swung open, and in came 2 young maids with a box in each of their hands. "Miss Song, your grandfather Elder Sky tasked us to bring you these. It's the phoenix feather and soul fruit you requested." Grandfather. Taken aback at the grand news, she gradually shifted her gaze down to the 2 boxes in front of herself with hope beaming out of those eyes. "Where's my grandfather?" she asks after ordering them to leave it on the table. "Oh, Elder Sky is still at the council hall. I'm going to see grandfather. You 2 don't have to follow me." Song carefully wraps the 2 boxes around her arm while pressing down her inner excitement so others won't grow suspicious. "But, Miss..." One of the maids frowned. "Elder Sky said we must protect Miss Song. How can we just leave without permission? It's night right now, so there's no sun. Besides, I'm going to see my grandfather. Not some random place. What are you so nervous for?" Song glances at the maid with a reprimanding face. "I'll come back once I see him. You stay here and wait for me." After saying this, the sickly and morbid-looking lass ignored the protesting maid in the rear and bolted out of the dark room. Of course, the 2 frantic maids wanted to give chase, but the repeated warning glares from Song sent them back in the end. Just as Song was about to reach by Yan's yard, an unexpected encounter occurred. With a touch on her should from the back, she nearly jumped with fright and swung around. Thankfully, the face that came into sight wasn't some unfamiliar face. Rather, it's the pipsqueak herself. "Ling Yen, how come it's you?" She pursed her lips and asked in a state of shock, giggling with delight as she got closer to her friend. The pipsqueak gets all happy in the voice. "Are you here to see my mother?" Said Song with a flushed tone on those cheeks. "I found the phoenix feather and soul fruit like she instructed. She said that as long as I have these 2 ingredients, then I can be cured for sure. I didn't tell my grandfather, though. I didn't want to give him false hope and disappoint him. That's why no one knows I'm here. Can you keep this a secret for now?" Patting her chest in a I'm reliable manner, the pipsqueak cocks her head high in a proud manner. "Of course, I can keep a secret. I'm not like my brother who can be bought with a steam bun." The cure? 7. If there were one person in this world who could save Ji-song, then that would have to be Bai Yen. This pipsqueak still has that much confidence in her own mother. Ji-song breathed a sigh of relief after hearing that. "Then, I'll first go meet your mother." "Wait. Let's go together." Ling Yen smiled brilliantly as she took her friend's hand to lead the way. For Song herself, this would be the first time she's ever spent time with another female whom she could call friend. For that, her pale and stiff expression actually made a genuine smile for once and not the awkward and weird-looking one she made before. "It's nice to have friends. Ling Yen is my first friend. I will cherish this friendship for life." Unbeknownst to both of the little ones, a certain female had been hiding in wait behind the dark corner of the courtyard the entire time. Coming out after the 2 tiny figures had left, Guya slowly strode out into the moonlight. "I didn't think that Ling Yan's mother would go this far in order to cater up to the members of the Monarch Manor. Is she crazy? How does she have the confidence to claim being able to heal Ji-song's condition? This won't do. I cannot let this continue. That woman's strength is so low. There's no way she's capable of something like that. I better go inform Elder Sky of what's happening. If his granddaughter is killed by this, then he will punish everyone here, including myself for merely being nearby." With that last thought in mind, Guya finally turned away to rush towards the council hall. She doesn't like Ji-song, who would, right? Nobody likes to have a sick-looking lass hang around themselves all day, especially when the patient never even smiles. But no matter her dislike, The morbid-looking lass was still a member of the monarch manor. At the very least, she needs to take action if not for heavenly's sake since they're still his people. What's more, such an opportunity to banish Bai Yen and her daughter doesn't come often. This was her chance. Elder Sky. This isn't good. Something major has happened. This outburst instantly shattered the peace of the night here. G Sky came out the fastest after hearing this and showed a surprised face. Miss Guya, why did you come so late? What happened? It's your granddaughter Ji-song. Something has happened to her. The woman spits this out with clenched teeth. Going green at the news, the old senior reactively roared. What did you say? Something happened to my precious song? You better explain what you mean. Otherwise, I won't let you off the hook. That child was his lifeblood. Without her, he would rather die at this point. Elder, it's that woman, Ling Yan's mother. In order to gain your favor, she's attempting to risk the young Mrs. Health just so she could try healing Song's body. It's absolutely foolish. That person is so weak without an ounce of knowledge. How could she ever think of something this crazy? You must act right away. We could be talking in minutes or seconds before something irreversible occurs. The more she spoke, the sweatier on the forehead she became, thus reinforcing the urgency of the situation. I've met that lady earlier today and she doesn't seem to be such a rash and foolish person. Perhaps we've made a misunderstanding and that song is only going there to play with Ling Yan? Elder Butterfly was the second to come out and she wasn't so easily manipulated. That remark promptly made Guya appear even more anxious, partly real and partly fake since she doesn't want to miss out on this chance. There's no mistake. I overheard the conversation directly from Miss Song and Ling Yan. Elder Sky, you must go save your granddaughter right now. Otherwise she might really die at the hand of that person. Bai Ning 1. Boom! G Sky's momentum suddenly changed, causing the whole sky to become stormy in that instant. Not waiting for Guya to say more, he dashed towards the courtyard where Bai Yen was staying. Inside the room, Ji-song stood quietly there as she watched the demon queen pour some sort of weird substance into a tub of water. Immediately, that clear warm liquid had turned into a faint green color that oozed with medicinal aroma. Mrs. D, will this be enough to save me? Bai Yen shook her head. It's merely the first step in the procedure. You will soak in this tub of potion I prepared for half an hour. During this time I will prepare the main elixir for you. Nodding in understanding, Song doesn't question the other side. For some unknown reason, she's convinced this person could help. Ling Yan, you go and rest first. The next process would be quite painful for the patient, so Bai Yen doesn't want her daughter to see it. Okay. The pipsqueak obediently complies and got up. I will come back and see you mother after I take a nap. With one final glance at her friend, the girl promptly left for her own room. Just like that, the procedure to cure Ji-song has begun. ZSSZZ. The first sensation the morbid girl felt was an intense sting across her whole body after dunking herself in that tub of potion. It's not extremely painful to the point where she couldn't endure, but it's stinging deep into her bones, which was incredibly hard to withstand. It's so painful, like someone's poking needles into me. It hurts. If you want to recover, then put up with it. Just when Ji-song wanted to protest and complain, Bai Yen shuts her down with that remark. It's faint and unemotional, but those words came down like a bat and knocked any resentment away. That's right, I need to endure this if I want to get better. 5 years of endless darkness. I don't want to go back. This is nothing to me. I will get better. I won't submit to such a life. I will prevail. Growing stronger and stronger in her mind, a powerful determination filled the morbid girl's eye as she recalled the painful past of her childhood. Those memories weren't painful in the physical sense, but on a spiritual level. Biting down on her lip until it bled. She wants to use pain to combat pain in this case. It's the only means she knows because it's not the first time she's hurt herself in such a fashion after caving into her own loneliness in the past. Slightly startled by the method used by the lass, Bai Yen raises an eyebrow in surprise at the determination. She was ready to take actions if Song intended to give up so easily, so her hands were already about to reach out. However, that precaution was unnecessary, it seems. This child must have suffered a lot in the few years she's lived on this world. Not many could think of using pain to counter pain. Very well. If you are determined to get better, then I will do everything within my means to save you. Taking out a small cauldron from her storage ring, Bai Yan also begins her effort of refining the final medicine using her soul fire. Bai Ning, too. Due to the intense concentration required for the brew, Bai Yan's senses have mostly closed itself off and shielded herself from the rest of the world. All she knew was the cauldron before herself, the flame, and the timing of when to pull out the elixir. So, whatever ruckus that's happening outside in the courtyard, she's unaware nor had the energy to care. Steaming with a mighty air above the group as they marched, they wasted no time in rushing through the winding corridors for the expected destination. What are you all planning to do? Di Ling Yen had wanted to return to her room then when she encountered this group in the open. She may be small, but she's no timid coward. Miss Ling Yen, Elder Butterfly saw who it was and immediately stepped forward to speak. Did Song happen to come by earlier? Is she looking for your mother for treatment? Gently pursing her lips, the pipsqueak grew unhappy at the aggressive air of this bunch. Are you going to make trouble for my mother? Big Sister Song said she didn't want this matter to be known to anyone. Why would they know about this? And the way they marched over here, they're clearly very upset. Ling Yen, Guya also came out from the rear, her face still showing that elegant smile. I know your mother wants to be the monarch's wife, but using Song's health as a mean to get close to everyone is not right. That girl is innocent and naive. She doesn't know the dangers involved with what's involved. And that woman using such low trickery is despicable. She doesn't deserve to be your mother either. You must awaken from the illusion. Ling Yen would never allow anyone to insult her mother. Not now, not ever. Without another word, she pushed Butterfly aside and pounced at the insufferable woman and bit down at that arm. Ah! Guya's screams resonated with pain due to the sting. She did not expect the pipsqueak to have such speed, much less turning into a mad dog and biting herself on the arm. It is you, this bad auntie again. First it's you coming to make trouble for my mother. Then now you're framing her. My mother is the best woman in the world, and also the one who loves me the most. I won't allow you to say anything bad about her. All red in the face, the pipsqueak stubbornly gnaws at that arm while glaring at the crowd. Today none of you can go bother Big Sister Song. G-Sky's gaze grew grim due to the child's stubbornness. If it were someone else who got in his way, then he would have rid himself of this problem at first sight. However, this was Di Ling Yen, the girl beloved by Heavenly, their lord and master. Her status was equivalent to the young lady of this house. There's no way he could hurt her less he's ready for the aftermath. But at the very thought of Song's safety, the grandfather's mood would deteriorate once again with irritation apparent in those eyes. Trying hard to maintain a gentle voice in his persuasion. Miss Ling Yen, I know my granddaughter's illness better than anyone. Even if your mother is able to save her, why sneak around without letting anyone know? If there is even a tiny mishap during the treatment, the outcome would be Song's death. So please, move aside and let us inside. Unbending in her determination, the pipsqueak shows off why she's the daughter of her parents. I know you are Big Sister's grandfather, but I want to ask before you go any further. If Big Sister is willing to trust in my mother, then why can't you trust in Big Sister's decision? Or do you have that little trust in her? Just because you can't do something doesn't mean my mother can't. G-Sky's face frowned. Song's only a child. She still doesn't know anything yet. Please step aside, Miss Ling Yen. I will not let you disturb Mother, and Grandpapa also said I am the little lady of the Monarch Manor. If you force your way over me, then that's equivalent to treason. Do all of you really want to test that? By Ning 3. The little pipsqueak's appearance began to reveal a sense of dominance after her declaration. This face, it's exactly like her mother's when Bai Yen decides on doing something. Of course, that's only if you ignore her childlike voice, then it could really scare some of these people. Sadly, that's not the case and only made a ripple on the surface. Ling Yen? Guya stroked her painful arm as she stared at the child. You bad woman, you shut up. The pipsqueak roars instead of simply yelling. Don't think I don't know everything is orchestrated by you. I will let father and big brother know of this when they come. They will definitely make you pay. Anyone who picks on mother are bad. Father and big brother will definitely do something about this once they find out. That's enough. Ji-Sky has completely lost patience. Miss Ling Yan, we are willing to show you respect out of the monarch's sake. But this matter is about my granddaughter's life. If I somehow offend you for trying to save my own grandchild, then I'm willing to bear the consequences once the monarch returns. Now move aside. Shuddering inside after that outburst from Elder Sky, Butterfly hurries to grab hold of the pipsqueak to bring the child behind herself for protection. Elder, Ling Yan is only a child. I know, you do not need to remind me, Elder Butterfly. I won't hurt her. Ji-Sky gradually closes his eyes as if to come to terms with what he's going to happen. Someone come. Restrain the young miss here. Remember not to hurt her. This little girl is now the monarch's treasure. How can I ever think about hurting her? But not harming her is one thing. No one can stop me from saving my own grandchild. If the monarch wishes to punish me afterwards, then so be it. I'm willing to take it. Yes, Elder. Several guards stepped forward and began to grab at the pipsqueak's arm. Ling Yan saw this and grew frightened, of course. She was absolutely tiny compared to these men, and whatever flailing and struggle she attempted after being held was futile. She may be a fox demon, but a 2-year-old child remains a child. What power does she have? None, that's the answer. She has none. Without surprise, the scuffle eventually left a bruise mark on the baby girl's tender arm after one of the guards got careless. Against that picture, Wuxia was undoubtedly the most delighted. She was honestly afraid these people would be too afraid to restrain the lass and let this opportunity slip. You bunch of baddies, let me go right this instant. My father and big brother will not forgive you for this. Ling Yan had anger in those eyes. I will tell grandpapa that you are bullying me. I won't let you do this. Ji-Sky didn't say more as he moved past the child. He knows that was no idle threat. He's going to pay a heavy price for this later on. You can't bother mother. You can't hurt mother. Ling Yan cries even harder after being dismissed. Shockingly, something miraculous occurred at this moment when the girl's mood hits a new low. Her whole body began to heat up, searing hot even until the guards restraining her felt increasingly more uncomfortable. Wah! Father, big brother, grandmother, hurry and come help mother. They're going to pick on mother. If at first the heat coming off of the pipsqueak was still bearable, then right now she's a flaming torch, burning all those hands until they're making some seriously ugly faces. Ling Yan. It's then when the situation was about to hit critical. A surprised and familiar voice cuts in from the sky. Raising her head at the source, the pipsqueak also stops crying because she recognized that note. Grandma, oh, breaking free from those hands that were already wanting to let go. The baby girl threw herself into the woman's arm who had already descended to the ground at lightning speed. Grandma, how come you are here? Quick, you must stop these baddies. They want to pick on mother. They want to hurt her. Bai Ning, dressed in white, those enchanting features of the grandmother shared a close resemblance with Bai Yan, the exception being that she's colder and prouder instead of the dominating type. Wuxia didn't like Bai Ning the second she lay eyes upon her. Without knowing why, the self-conceited lady radiated hostility that has never before seen to anyone. Naturally, Bai Ning also noticed the hostile gaze coming at herself from that woman, but instead of giving more attention to some random stranger she doesn't know or care about, the grandmother would rather appease the crying child in her arms. Ling Yan, take grandmother here to see your mother. Bai Ning loses the cold hardness in those eyes when saying this, replaced only by gentle kindness. Rubbing her weeping eyes, the pipsqueak stammers the response. Boo, but these baddies want to interrupt mother's treatment of big sister. They say mother is going to hurt big sister, and that she's only out to seduce grandpapa. The corner of Bai Ning's lip rose into a sarcastic smirk after hearing that outlandish claim, caressing the child's head so she would calm down and stop hiccuping. Since my granddaughter said none of you can go disturb my daughter, then none of you can go further. Lady? Elder Sky deepens the furrowing forehead, his voice cold and harsh. The sister mentioned by Miss Ling Yan is my own granddaughter, Her treatment will be decided by me, her own family. Madam, I ask that you not get involved and step aside. Casting a faint glance at the old senior who spoke. Your granddaughter's life is not of my concern, but my daughter's decision is. If my daughter wants to kill someone, then none can stop her. And if she wants to save someone, then none can interfere either. So, you better watch your tongue. I won't be told on what to do by anyone. Then you leave me no choice but to use force? Said Elder Sky with a hint of disdain for that blind arrogance. You bunch go subdue Miss Ling Yen. I will deal with this, madam. The pipsqueak panicked, her little body curling up against Bai Ning's arm further, due to fear of being caught again. However, that concern was for naught. Forget about catching the pipsqueak. They don't even want to get near after being burned on the hands. Some of those burns were so intense that they're already starting to show bubbles on the skin. What are you guys doing? G Sky's complexion darkened into a black hole after seeing no movement from behind. Elder. Miss Ling Yen. She. The guard captain timidly speaks where he got cut off by that menacing glare from the senior. Stop worrying about the consequences. I will bear all the blame if the monarch wishes to punish any of you. The poor guards all wanted to cry at that moment. Apparently their hesitation there got mistaken for fear of heavenly punishing them. Heck no. They're not afraid of being punished by their liege and master. Rather, it's the freakiness of the girl over there. Who in the world would suddenly get insanely hot like a burning torch? But fear was fear. They aren't going to ignore a direct order from Elder Sky. Inching forward like turtles, these poor men carefully surrounded the child. Miss Ling Yen, can you be good and stand to one side by yourself? We won't do anything, just stand over there. Okay? Huffing a grunt with that little nose pointing high, Di Ling Yen pinches her lips into an adorable frown. You baddies are not allowed to hurt mother. I'm not afraid of you anymore with grandmother here. Bai Ning, 5. These people bully me because I am small and cannot protect mother. But with grandmother here, I'm no longer afraid. Bai Ning sneered at the ignorant fools that dare to circle them on this courtyard. She could tell aside from a select few here tonight, they're all relatively weak compared to herself. With a little flex of her strength, the proud woman instantly sent the less prepared of the mansion guards shooting out in a bullet-like fashion due to the torrent of wind she created. I'm not dead yet. Who dares to bully my daughter and granddaughter? The woman's cool and prideful voice held those who remained standing in contempt. G Sky's expression grew increasingly grimmer at the situation. He doesn't want to drag this out, but he's got a keen eye. Whoever this person was, or if she's really the baby girl's family, this woman was no pushover based on the small attack she showed there. But as the old saying goes, panic only brings more mistakes, and mistakes only bring more mistakes. Without more thought, the old senior drew his sword and aimed it at the unwelcomed intruder. Grandma! Di Ling Yan's face went white there as she saw the sword coming down, her tiny hands nervously grasping onto the woman's body. She had heard before that the strongest individual here in the domain was Elder Sky, second only to Grandpapa. Sure, the pipsqueak trusts in Bai Ning's ability, but there's going to be an unavoidable strand of worry once the fight breaks out. Miss Ling Yan, out of everyone's expectation, Elder Butterfly reacted just as fast there and with shocking speed. Coming before Bai Ning, this sole female elder plucked the pipsqueak right out of her grandmother's grasp to bring the child into her own arms for protection, thus removing any danger that might befall the girl during the scuffle. Bai Ning's expression grew very ugly after having someone faster than herself here and not being able to react in time. However, that heart immediately settled back down after seeing the concerned face of this butterfly. If there are others looking out for the girl, then she could concentrate on dealing with this old senior who's clearly acting in a panic. Clang! An enormous force released into the air after their swords collided. The weaker ones couldn't take this and immediately shot out into the air, whereas the unfortunate ones smashed into the ground or wall. Fortunately, the pipsqueak had the female elder protecting her, so she remains unhurt from the blast. But the cracked floorboards and overturned rubble told everyone how dangerous the area has become even if they're not directly fighting. Successful concoction 1. Inside the room. Bai Yen threw herself into refining the elixir so she's still unaware of the battle outside. Boom! Suddenly, A very loud noise came out of the cauldron as if something wants to break out of the container, gradually retracting her focus as the flame slowly dwindled down from the palm. The demon queen awaits the lightning bolt that's to come from her efforts. Yet the expected electric might never came after several minutes. That surprised the woman as she frowned at the oddity. I see, it must be because this domain was created by Heavenly, so it doesn't have a world will. Otherwise there's no way my alchemic products wouldn't create a scene from the sky. Not dwelling on the issue since it's a good thing, Bai Yen removes the lid and gathered the elixir into a bottle for the child. The medicine is done. You can come out of the tub now. No reply came though. Furrowing that brow up, Bai Yen got closer to examine the girl. Only then does she realize Song had fallen unconscious from the stinging pain. Without delay, the demon queen sweeps the child up from the water and held her in those arms. Perhaps it's due to the relief of being free from the painful liquid, but Song's eye started to move so slightly right off the bat until she eventually regained consciousness. Mrs. D. The little girl opened her mouth where a whisk of air infused into her lungs and brought a refreshing sensation. Is it a success? Bai Yen responded with a hum as confirmation. Take this elixir and you will be healed. First glancing at the bottle presented to herself, then at Bai Yan's reassuring face, Song didn't hesitate in the slightest and chugged the fluid down in one full gulp. Instantly, a warm current circulated across her entire body, cleaning and removing every ounce of the toxin until her very soul felt refreshed. Then at the last second where she thought she's healed, something suddenly started to push itself out of her abdomen. Following a nauseating sensation of wanting to vomit, Song opened her mouth and cried out where a blop of black blood spat out of her throat. Mrs. D, I am healed now? The voice of Ji Songs trembled with excitement after realizing how good her body felt. She never thought this day would actually come, the day where she could go out in the sunlight. Yes, it's a success, but you're too weak due to your body never seeing the light. I have some more medicine to help improve your health. Take it and you will eventually be like everyone else. As the old saying goes, if you're gonna send someone off, then send them all the way. She's already removed the toxin. Might as well spend a little more to boost up her body's condition so she could become a normal child. After all, Song's going to be her daughter's companion from now on. Bai Yen only hopes this girl won't let her down. Thank you. Song got so moved by the new bottle that's given to herself that she's barely able to stop herself from crying. Nevertheless, she did as told and drank the bitter medicine without objection. Successful concoction, too. If you really want to thank me, then take care of Ling Yen from now on. A shallow smile shows on Bai Yan's face after saying that. If from the start she only wanted to find a companion for her precious daughter, then the demon queen was now genuinely taken by this Song, who endured the full treatment she came up with. Others may not know this, but the level of pain involved could make even an adult cry and beg. Then, madam, what do I need to do now? Song pursed her delighted lips and asked. It's then when Bai Yen wanted to speak. A loud bang from the outside interrupts their conversation and caught both individuals' attention. In that moment, Bai Yan's face sank into a dark looming dagger, for she knows it couldn't be anything good. Song also fell into shock at the noise. Why does the energy signature feel so similar to grandfather's? Song, you come with me. As soon as she dropped this sentence down, the woman had already pushed the door open and walked outside. Due to panic, the now healed lass didn't dwell on the issue and hurried outside as well in order to catch up. The curtain to this battle has been drawn down by the deepening of the night. Trees destroyed, men sprawled along the ground and unconscious. This whole courtyard was a total mess. Naturally, Guya was no exception either. She's very pale in the face, the sign that she's affected to a degree from the recoiling force. As for Bai Ning, who's been fighting the elder, the prideful grandmother had fallen behind and left a deep mark on the ground with a trace of blood in the corner of those lips. Her eyes are growing increasingly more heavy while gazing at the foe who obviously had the upper hand. Ji Sky didn't fare so well either, of course, despite being strong. In his old eyes were shock and disbelief, for the old senior never expected to have someone be of match to himself. When did such a character appear in the domain? Grandma! The little pipsqueak breaks free from Butterfly's hold and quickly ran over to Bai Ning's side. her hands tightly wrapped around the woman with tears flowing out of those anger-filled eyes. "You big baddie, you actually hurt my grandmother. I hate you." In response, G-Sky could only make a helpless bittersweet smile. For the safety of his granddaughter, he has no other choice in this matter. If there were other options, then he would have taken it. After all, this woman was the baby girl's grandmother. "Miss Ling Yan, please forgive me. I also don't have a choice in this matter. If the two of you don't move aside, then it might be too late for me to save Song. So, I can only take matters into my own hands." For the sake of his granddaughter, he's willing to go to any lengths because Song's his life, his reason for living. It's bad enough that you are not willing to repay kindness with kindness after mother is willing to save big sister. But you are also listening to that bad woman's word and accusing mother of plotting to harm big sister. You also hurt grandmother. The pipsqueak's face grew increasingly redder due to the swelling anger. Big sister is such a good person. Why is her grandfather so foolish and senile? G-Sky's expression changed into a flush red as well, but not from anger. Rather, it's utter embarrassment. How could he not write? He's being pointed at the nose by a little girl right now and being scolded as foolish and senile. That's utterly shameful. "Miss Ling Yan, you will understand me later. My precious Song is my life. I will not let anything harm her or take such risk. Therefore, I have no other option but to force my way through your impedance." G-Sky's momentum started to get more intense afterwards until the whole sky darkened into a heavy oppressive gloom like a storm's about to occur. Bai Ning knew what's coming and promptly wrapped the baby girl around herself for protection. Her face still as proud and strong when confronting the old senior without an ounce of wavering. For some unknown reason, towards that calm and collected appearance of Bai Ning's, Guya, who instigated all this, got an indescribable sensation of anger swelling up inside of herself. "This is clearly my first time seeing this woman. Why do I feel so much hatred towards her? It's even worse than the anger I felt towards that Bai Yan." Successful concoction 3. "Grandfather." It's then a crisp and tender-sounding voice cuts through the night, thus breaking the powerful momentum gathered by G-Sky, who is about ready to make his second assault. Shocked by the tiny figure that's racing towards himself, the old senior completely ignores Bai Yan, who's obviously walking in front of Song there. In his mind, there's only his granddaughter and nothing more. Song! In a flash, he disappears from the spot and reappears before the child to examine the girl, nervously pressing his hand against her shoulder. "Are you all right? Are you feeling unwell?" Ji-Song did not get to answer at all there before being blasted by this set of questions. Making a helpless face, the girl turns to Bai Yan for help. However, at this moment Bai Yan didn't have the time to worry about some grandfather who's overly protective of their granddaughter. Rather, she's also quite worried about the female protecting her own daughter. Bai Yan could see blood coming out of Bai Ning's lip. For that, she's absolutely infuriated. Who did it? Her voice was colder than the late-night wind, which caused the temperature around her to drop several degrees. "Mother!" Di Ling Yan pounced out of Bai Ning's arm then and threw herself into the Bai Yan's instead, her eyes a teary red of sad, pitiful sorrow. "It's big sister's grandfather. He hurt grandmother here." Bai Yan's face got quite scary there due to how cold it became in that moment, like some sort of storm was brewing in those eyes. It's so bad, in fact, that the atmosphere here had grown quiet and eerie. Ji-Song's complexion instantly went white as well after hearing that outburst. Turning to her own grandfather, she purses her lip and asked with shock in the voice, "Grandfather, why did you do it?" G-Sky couldn't bear to have such a look made towards himself. Hastening to turn away, he wanted to explain himself in a mutter, when Guya's voice inserted herself from the rear. "Miss Song, don't blame your grandfather. He merely didn't want you to suffer any harm. Elder Sky knows Ling Yan's mother is only using you to get close to the monarch by using your health as leverage. He only wants what's best for you. It's all for your sake." Guya slightly frowned due to the protective attitude of the girl, aware of the sudden change in Song's complexion after her own explanation. "Fortunately, you didn't let her treat you yet, otherwise your grandfather might have been too late to save you." G-Sky was not deaf and promptly swept a cold gaze at the instigator of all this. He didn't say that Bai Yan wanted to use his granddaughter to get close to the monarch at all. it's just that. In this case, Bai Yan was a stranger. He doesn't know her ability or strength. How could he feel at ease letting such a person mess around with Song's body? No parent or elder could take such risks regardless of their background. As for Guya's skewed explanation, the old senior didn't bother to correct it. At a time like this, any further explanation would only make things worse. All that it matters to him was Song being safe and not taking that treatment. Song is good at everything except too trusting in people around herself. There's frost all over Bai Yan's aura after hearing the explanation. Turning to the patient girl, her voice got much colder than while they were in the room. Song, shouldn't you have your grandfather give me a proper explanation? I saved your life, yet he harmed my mother without accessing the situation or discerning what's right or wrong. Even though she understood that G-Sky did it out of concern for Song's well-being, but everyone has their own moments of selfishness. In this regard, Bai Yan's moment would be about her family. The justification hardly matters anymore. If I had known that saving you would hurt my mother, I wouldn't have done it. That remark made Song extremely sad there. Looking at Bai Yan's distant gaze and the crying face of her one and only friend Ling Yan, the girl never felt so sad before. Successful concoction for one's her benefactor, and the other was her good friend whom she just met. Does it mean she's going to have to be hated by them from now on? That's not what she wants. Grandfather, why did you hurt Mrs. D's mother? Ji-song turns to her grandfather and demanded an answer with tears slowly forming along those clear blue eyes. You've always been like this whenever the matter involves me. You do not care whether it's right or wrong. You will always lose your reasoning and think it's the other person who wants to hurt me. Sulking and hiccuping in her voice. It's one thing that you keep me out of the light. That's even when there's no sun on those gloomy days outside. You also keep me from making any friends or communicate with others, only wanting to lock me up in that dark room all day. Your love for me. It's reached the point of obsession. Sometimes I would think it's better to simply live a short life than to continue on this trajectory of endless darkness. So what if I can't live for long? At least I would live. Grandfather, I know you're hurt inside after losing my parents, but this life, it's not living, it's torture, a cruel and painful nightmare. The girl's protesting cry hits the old senior like a hammer, punching and kicking at his heart till it hurts. Wanting to say something by opening his mouth, the old senior suddenly discovered he couldn't. Those words, they're stuck in his throat. Streaming with tears, Ling Yan is my only friend now, and Mrs. D is my benefactor. But because of you, they will both hate me. Do you know how painful it is for me over the years? It's Mrs. D who brought hope into my life. I can now run around in the sun like everyone. I can finally leave that dark, damp room. When reaching the end, the girl's voice was huffing and trembling with emotions. It's the first time she met Ling Yan, but she also knew the friend was a reasonable person. For example, let's say if her grandfather had spoken politely, then he would have been let through. That much she's certain of. The fact that he didn't get through and got stopped must be because he lost control and got especially rude, like wanting to hurt Mrs. D. This could be proven by the way Ling Yan and her grandmother resisted the request. G-Sky sadly faced his granddaughter after the reprimand. Did I not keep her from going out for her own safety? And all those that got to befriend her only wanted to lure her out to play, so how could I not be nervous? But in the end, my granddaughter didn't understand me at all. What did you say? Elder Butterfly wasn't as invested as her peer, so her ears weren't deaf to a specific detail. First making a shocked face, the female elder quickly went up to examine Song with her shaky voice. You said you can go outside in the sun? Ji-Song formed a self-ridiculing smirk at Butterfly before facing her grandfather again. Yes, I can run in the sun without worrying about my life now. But what of it? Grandfather, you taught me the morals of being human from a young age. But did you do what you preach? You offended my benefactor. Mrs. D saved me, saved my future. Yet you repaid the kindness by hurting her mother. G-Sky's eyes flew into a shocked look. Unconvinced still, he hurried to confirm the fact for himself by checking Song's wrist. Originally there would be a black vein, the main artery in this area that showed the toxic remains, but there's nothing now. The toxin that he exhausted all his means and still failed to cure was gone. Poof, healed. Gone like it's never been there. Still not convinced since there are ways to hide this using special effects. The senior releases his spiritual feelers out to scan the child from top to bottom and right down to her soul. Heavenly's in trouble, 1. All kinds of emotions are swirling within G-Sky's eye right at this moment. Astonishment, shock, and elation? Song Yu? His voice began to shudder like he wanted to hear the answer directly from the granddaughter. My granddaughter can finally run free in the sunlight? The irony of the situation didn't go unshown in Song's expression. Grandfather, it's as you think. I have fully recovered. It was Mrs. D who gave me hope. And it's you who let me down. Even though she knew that G-Sky only did this out of concern for herself, but this concern was too bigoted to the point where he would indiscriminately harm others. Song's been able to put up with that behavior since she's young, but this time he's gone too far. No matter what, she must make her grandfather understand the mistake of behaving this way because it doesn't help anyone. The old senior's heart dropped, ashamed of himself as he hung his head low. Finally, he knows his actions has really let his granddaughter down. Song, I'm really sorry. Grandfather is really too worried about you that I mistakenly harmed Mrs. D's mother. This is all grandfather's fault. As long as you stop being angry at me, then grandfather here will do anything to make amends. Song pursed her lips. It's not me whom you need to apologize. It's Mrs. D and her mother. Taken aback for a second, the senior promptly turned to Bai Yen and Bai Ning's location. He tried to say something, but when the words reached his throat and was about to come out, he choked and couldn't say anything. Good thing the shame in his eyes was obvious enough so everyone could figure out his meaning. Meeting that gaze, Bai Yan's expression didn't change or get any better. Turning to her daughter, she spoke in a soft, calm voice. Ling Yan, this place is not suitable for us. We will leave here in a bit. Okay. The pipsqueak snuggled up against her mother's chest and obediently nodded. She hated the fact that she's leaving without saying goodbye to her grandpapa, but she's more distressed about her mother and grandmother being hurt. So, she's not happy to stay here anymore. At this moment, Gu Ya's gaze flickered with disbelief when locking on to Bai Yen. She didn't expect this demon queen to really cure Song. After all, not even Elder Sky could do a thing against the Soulbane. G-Sky's heart panicked, his throat croaking as he spoke with huge difficulty. Mrs. D, this is indeed my fault for not finding out the truth before acting, but no matter what the fault lies with me. Our monarch likes Ling Yan so much. I'm imploring you to stay until his return. That is not needed. Bai Yen bluntly refused the request and slowly turned away. Ling Yan, mother, let's go. Wait. Seeing the departing back, Song could no longer keep calm and broke free of her grandfather's arm and ran up to the demon queen's side. Mrs. D, I want to leave with you. Raising an eyebrow. You are sure? Certain. Song nodded with a firm face. Song. The senior completely lost his wits after hearing that, his eyes flustering with loss and panic. If you leave, then what about me, your grandfather? I only have you left as family. Are you really going to abandon grandfather here? Heavenly's in trouble. 2. Song dropped her sight after hearing the plea. To tell the truth, she's also reluctant to give up her grandfather. After all, this person was her only family member remaining. But Bai Yan's her lifesaver who got accused for misdeeds by her very own grandfather. This was the least she could to compensate such a misgiving. Not to mention, grandfather, as condition for Mrs. D saving me, I have given myself to her and promised to stay by Ling Yan's side from now on. Sky choked, and the others froze in astonishment. Their eyes are now gathered on Song and Bai Yan's face. Mrs. D, the purpose of you saving my granddaughter before, it's so she would follow Miss Ling Yan and not for you to get close to the monarch? Earlier, Guya clearly came to them claiming that this woman was risking Song's health in order to win them over with a debt. That way she could use this connection to approach the monarch. He didn't believe it fully, of course, but he also didn't dismiss it as nothing. And now his own granddaughter was saying Bai Yan only saved her in order to have her follow Miss Ling Yan? Then what about Guya's claim? Where did that come from? Mrs. D already has a husband and daughter. Why would she approach the monarch? Song's expression grew a little angry. Who in the world said such slandering words about Mrs. D? Apparently everyone here had dismissed this point until it's brought up again by the child. Even though they knew that Bai Yan had a daughter, but because they never met her husband that they believed he's either dead or no longer around after abandoning the pair. Therefore, they didn't suspect the outlandish claim earlier from the despicable liar. Guya naturally saw those eyes locking onto herself then and lost all color from the face. Clenching that fist, she didn't utter a single word for she knew it's pointless and would only dig a bigger hole for herself. Let's go. Bai Yan knew what they were doing after seeing the focus shifting away. Even so, she doesn't care at this point and only wanted to leave this bunch behind for their very presence annoyed her. Bai Ning only suffered a slight injury, so it's not a big deal to leave even without applying some sort of medicine. However, the Demon Queen's never been one to forget a slight against herself. Speaking without turning around or stopping. You harmed my mother tonight. The reason I'm not repaying you for that today is because Heavenly took in my daughter while I wasn't around. In return, there will not be any connection between this place and my daughter again. No connection between this place and my daughter again. The woman's announcement was like a hammer, smashing into everyone's heart. Who doesn't know that the pipsqueak was the precious treasure of the monarch during this period? But now, because of their folly in offending this woman, that bond has been shattered? That's their heads on the line. Just when all were frantic and unsure of what to do, an old figure quickly ran over from the front with panic showing across his movement. It's not good. We have a major problem. Fifth Elder. Elder Butterfly only took a glance to recognize this person. For unknown reasons, her heart felt incredibly uneasy and urgently asked, "Didn't you follow the monarch when he left? Why did you return alone? Where's the monarch?" Pain apparent in those eyes, Fifth Elder spoke with panting breath. His monarchness had an accident in the ancient ruins, and now, we don't know if he's alive or dead. The others are still searching for him there. But I returned to bring news because I'm the fastest. Bai Ning, who originally went towards the exit, suddenly stopped as a result of that sentence. Her hand unknowingly clasped against her own chest like she's about to suffocate due to the panic. Heavenly's in trouble. 3. Mother, what's wrong? Bai Yan became aware of Bai Ning's strangeness and turned to ask. Slightly white in the face. The monarch of this house? What is his name? Life and death uncertain. Why do I feel so uneasy inside after hearing those words? I clearly don't know the guy. Why am I behaving this way? It's Heavenly. Bai Yan wrinkled her brow. It looks like I can't just leave like this. No matter what, that person did take care of Ling Yan when I wasn't around. And the way Mother is acting, I might have been too careless in my assessment. Perhaps Mother really did suffer a major injury from the fight. Heavenly? Heavenly. Bai Ning's body suddenly fell backwards without indication, her mouth coughing out blood as the color drained from that face. Mother! Bai Yan flew into shock, hurrying over in the nick of time to catch the patient. Worried apparent on the face. What's wrong? How come you are like this all of a sudden? Shaking her head. I don't know. I just feel stuffy in my heart. It's very uncomfortable. I clearly never seen that so-called monarch before. Why do I feel so sad inside for him? Mother, grandmother. The pipsqueak seems to have thought of something and tugged at the Demon Queen's sleeve. Grandpapa once told me he has another name. I think it was called Yun Feng. Mother, Grandpapa really is kind to me. Can we go help him, please? Yun Feng? Forget about Bai Ning's pale complexion. Even Bai Yan's face had lost all color after hearing that name. There's literally no blood left on their faces at this point, to the point where even their feet felt cold and numb. Yun Feng, life and death uncertain? Why him? Why is Heavenly him? Trembling in the lip, Bai Yan rigidly held onto her own mother's hand and exchanged a shock and horrified look between themselves. PFFFF. Bai Ning coughed out blood again as she closed her eyes in pain. I see. No wonder I fell into such a panic. It all makes sense. We're husband and wife. The bond we share should have given me the hint from the very start. I'm so foolish for not sensing it earlier. Due to the shock of this horrible news, None of the elders or guards present were aware of the strange behavior of the ladies. However, that quickly changed when Bai Ning overtook the screaming Guya, who wanted to run over to the fifth elder for more details. "Where's that ancient ruin?" The mad wife clawed into the senior's robe and ripped him right off his feet. She a fury, a flaming catastrophe capable of ripping apart all that became an obstacle. Fifth elder flailed around for a bit after discovering what has happened from out of the blue, his voice croaky and unsure of what to make of this. "Take me to him now." Gawking after that demand, the senior was lost for words at the intense stare from those eyes. It's blinding and making him want to shrink away. "Take me to him now. If you stall any longer, then I'll kill you." In Bai Ning's mind, any moment wasted here would mean an extra moment of danger for her husband. As such, she could only resort to violence if it meant getting her way. Finally coming back to his senses after hearing that threat, fifth elder turns to Elder Sky and the others for some sort of explanation regarding this female who just ripped into him. Since Elder Sky already felt guilty towards Bai Ning and her family, the old grandfather didn't hesitate and nodded for his peer to show it's okay. "Fifth elder, take us all to the monarch. The first priority is to save our liege." Yunfeng's peril won. Guya's face changed for the worse as she stared towards Bai Ning, those eyes dark and grim. "Elder Sky, this matter is the monarch manor's business. We shouldn't be letting outsiders interfere with this." "Quiet!" G Sky flew into a rage after being told this, his tone fierce and irate. He did not forget how it's this woman who instigated himself to come here tonight. If not for that, he wouldn't have been so rash to injure Bai Ning in the scuffle. So, he no longer trusted her, nor did he want to be nice to the lady either. Guya froze at the loud roar, which caused her to freeze up for a second. Then upon further assessment, she suddenly found herself to be the outcast in this matter as the impatient glares came flying over from Elder Sky and Elder Butterfly. Fifth elder, who just came back, didn't understand the situation, so he didn't catch on to the tense mood. Clenching his teeth, "Miss Guya, it's best you not get involved. Saving his monarchness is more important right now. Elder Sky, we need to leave now." G Sky nodded in agreement. He also didn't want to delay the matter. However, right as he's about to leave with his peer, he suddenly noticed Bai Ning's intense gaze coming their way. "Tell me the exact location of the ancient ruins." Fifth elder was taken aback at first, since that question was obviously directed at himself instead of his counterparts. But thinking of the attitude G Sky and Butterfly showed towards this person, he subsided and replied earnestly, "To the east. After 1,000 kilometers, head north another 500 kilometers and you will find the ruins." "Lady, you—" But before his sentence could be finished, Bai Ning's body had already turned into a torrent of wind and flew off into the horizon. Bai Yan also made haste by picking up the pipsqueak, but not before leaving instructions for Song, who also stood around. "You stay here and wait for us. I will come back later." Heavenly is actually father. Slowly closing her eyes then, Bai Yan suddenly recalled back to the time where she read through the ancient diary left behind by that lady in red. Perhaps it's fate? That person kept talking about Heavenly in her diary, and now that very Heavenly is my own father in this life. Due to her own worry as well, Bai Yan didn't spend much time dwelling on unimportant connections and quickly chased after her own mother's trail. But make no mistake, there's too much coincidence to consider this to be pure chance. The Demon Queen's bound to investigate the connection. It's just not now. Elder Sky didn't delay either in this case. However, instead of blazing off into the horizon like the two women before himself, the elder suddenly stopped midair above the manor and turned to Butterfly, who's coming up. "Elder Butterfly, I need you to stay here in the Monarch Manor. Someone needs to take charge while I and the Monarch is not around. Also, I need someone I can trust to take care of my granddaughter. Please?" Startled at first by the request, the female elder eventually sighed and nodded. She understood how much the child meant for her peer and the risk of taking everyone off to the ancient ruins. "I understand." With this assurance of Butterfly, G Sky felt a heavy load coming off his shoulder immediately. Without looking back, he too gave chase to everyone that has left. "Miss?" Unsure when Senior Gu Lao had appeared next to Guya, his face full of undisguised concern for the lady. The person did not answer the old Gramps' words there. Instead, she bit her lips and revealed an intense level of anger on her usual elegant face. As I said, there's no way Bai Yen doesn't have ideas toward the monarch. You've been fooled by her, milady. She's a very scheming woman, playing the retreat card to advance even further. Now that the monarch is in danger, she immediately seized the opportunity to become the savior. Yunfeng's peril, too. After overhearing parts of the conversation from Gu Lao, Elder Butterfly attitude got all mocking. You think the monarch would give special treatment to anyone? If you do, then I'm afraid to tell you that you're wrong. Otherwise you would have long become the monarch's wife. In other words, you, the so-called benefactor of Heavenly, was no more important than the rest of us. Therefore, Bai Yen and her mother wouldn't be able to ascend onto the great throne either as the man's wife. What's more, since Bai Yen has a daughter, it proves that she has a husband. The same was true of Bai Yan's mother. And regarding Ling Yan's motive, that's not even in the equation since she's so young and innocent. Anything was no doubt Gu Ya's self-conceited imagination. Elder Butterfly, don't you think you're going too far? Gu Lao could not take it anymore after those remarks. Our miss only wants to help out of concern. Yet Fifth Elder and Elder Sky won't even let her follow, so what can she do? What's more, how is it fair that those two ladies can follow while we can't? Don't you think that's unfair and biased? That actually made Butterfly laugh. She has had no favorable opinion of Gu Ya ever since she overheard their conversation regarding the monarch's recovery. Before, she didn't pursue the matter due to her loyalty. After all, the most important thing was Heavenly's return. It doesn't matter who actually carried out the mission, but now, things are different. After hearing Gu Lao's thoughts, this female elder only found it ridiculous and laughable. Gu Lao, I guess you arrived too late to know the whole situation regarding Song's recovery. The old senior made a surprised face there. He obviously didn't hear the whole story. This was especially true regarding that sickly child. And? Butterfly narrowed in her eyes. The one who healed Song is none other than Mrs. D, Ling Yan's own mother. Taking a few steps forward, she puts on an overbearing attitude. So, by virtue of her skills alone, do you think she's qualified to follow Elder Sky and Fifth Elder or not? Or do you believe Gu Ya is better than her? It's then Song also decides to chime in with a huffing grunt. Mrs. D is the most incredible. How can Gu Ya compare? In particular, she actually framed Mrs. D in front of grandfather. So hateful. Gu Ya's face got a little whiter without blood showing. She's trembling on the lips, which indicated she's without rebut. However, right as Gu Lao's about to speak in her defense again, the lady couldn't keep quiet. It's okay, Gu Lao, you don't need to speak on my behalf. It's no use here. They're all set on thinking I'm only acting with ulterior motive. Miss? Gu Lao looked at her with pain. The miss only loves Heavenly to death. Anything she does, it's for him and him alone. So, what's wrong with that? Enough. There's nothing more to say, we're going back. Gu Ya bites her lip when facing Butterfly. I have nothing to ask of the monarch. I only hope you can inform me once Heavenly's back. As long as I can see him back safely, then I am satisfied. Despite the sneer on Butterfly's face, the female elder nevertheless nodded in agreement. You can go back now. I know you have your own eyes here, so why ask me to inform you? Leave. I don't want to continue this conversation anymore. Yunfeng's peril, 3. Gu Ya casted one last look at Butterfly before turning away, not saying a single word as that figure disappeared into the night. Since the female elder has said things to such a degree, she too had no need to keep being nice. It's one thing if the mask hadn't been ripped apart, but this situation has clearly done that, so neither party needed to keep up the facade. Song. Seeing they're alone now, Butterfly slowly comes before the child and squats down, speaking in a soft, gentle voice that unexpectedly relaxed the air. You don't have to worry too much. Your grandfather and Mrs. D will be fine. Nothing bad will happen. Despite the consoling words, Song only stared into the air at the direction of where they all left, her eyes filled with sadness and worry. Hope, grandfather and Mrs. D will come back soon. Just like the silence of the night, The ancient ruins are also without sound due to the anxious air hovering above the heads of the people surrounding this place. They are waiting for help from the monarch manor. It's then when the mood grew increasingly more oppressive and unsettling. Several figures had swooped down from the looming clouds. Thank goodness you're here, Elder Sky. The monarch is still not back yet, and we have no information about his condition. Please hurry and think of something. The ones saying this are all looking anxious and urgent, which goes to show how powerless they are right now. Heavenly was their main backbone that only returned after much difficulty, so it's not hard to understand why they are panicking so hard. What exactly happened? And where is he? Bai Yen swept her furrowed gaze across the group and asked using that cold, edgy voice. Elders, this is... An old man frowned as he landed his sight upon the female in question, those eyes showing an examining light. She's Miss Ling Yan's mother, and you can go ahead and tell her. Ji Sky did not have time to explain the identity of Bai Yen, so he glossed over the details and urged his peer to get on with it. Perhaps the medical skills could even come in handy if he's not wrong. After all, she did cure his granddaughter tonight. Third elder became stunned by what he heard. It's no secret Heavenly dotes on that little pipsqueak, and for the sake of the child, they've been searching high and low for the girl's mother. And now standing before himself was the mother of that very child? We had just accompanied the monarch deep into the ruins, but it wasn't long before a mass of black mist devoured the monarch. Black mist? Putting down her daughter, Bai Yen turns to Bai Ning. Mother, we will go see for ourselves. Bai Ning nodded and followed Bai Yen into the ruins. Although this place was considered ancient relic of the past, but the insides were like another world. There's a bridge up ahead after going through the entrance where it leads to a straight road. You guys don't have to come in. Bai Yen saw the elders and others wanted to follow as well, so she immediately stopped them. I and my mother is enough. To be clear, that's not out of concern for Elder Sky and the rest. Rather, it's for her precious daughter's sake. The more protection there was for the pipsqueak, the more relieved she would be while investigating this ruin. Besides, what good are they anyways? If they are capable, then why would they themselves need to come, right? Yun Feng's peril. 4. Mother! Di Ling Yan's face were filled with tears, those big red eyes staring up in a pleading manner. Are you going to leave Ling Yan behind? I also want to find Grandpapa. The sound of the little milky soft bun melted away the demon queen's hard expression at the moment. Crouching down, the mother reaches out to rub the little head. Be good, Ling Yan. Mother is only going inside to search for your grandpapa. We will be back really fast, so don't worry. Can you stay here and wait for Mother? Mother Lai, it's clearly very dangerous. The pipsqueak protests in a pitiful tone. Ling Yan isn't as skillful as Big Brother, but as long as I can be together with Mother, then I am afraid of nothing. I'm not afraid of danger. Bai Yan's heart felt so sour and pained when hearing that proclamation. Brainstorming a better excuse, the demon queen knew there's nothing she could say after seeing that stubborn little face, stealing her inside to not make this more painful. Ling Yan, if Mother and your grandmother go inside, then we have 50% chance to bring your grandpapa back out safely. If we bring you along, then that chance would go down drastically because we will need to keep an eye out for you. Do you understand? So, stay here with them. Your grandpapa's people will protect you while we're away. No matter what the elders did before, these people were sincere towards Ling Yan. Coupling this with the fact that their father's own men, Bai Yen had no reason to believe they are going to harm Ling Yan while they are not looking. Still staring upwards with those big blue eyes, Di Ling Yan finally relented and gradually lowered her clinging hands from the woman's sleeve. Nevertheless, the face she made told everyone how much she hated being left behind. Okay, I will wait here for you, Mother. As long as Mother doesn't come back, then I won't go anywhere. Even if this kind of waiting equated to a lifetime, she won't budge. Bai Yen knows her words must hurt a lot, but sometimes the best course of action was to be cruel, so it doesn't hurt more later. The demon queen knows her daughter was cleverer than the average baby. She would eventually understand even if the worst comes to pass. However, it doesn't change the fact that the child's sensibility distressed the demon queen to no ends. She's a real bad mother for making their child go through so much. I'm leaving my daughter here with you guys, she said with power in that voice. If the duration is too long, help me take care of Ling Yen until her father's comes. At this moment everyone's heart was shocked by her words. They wanted to help Heavenly before when he fell into danger, but that black mist overwhelmed them and forcibly pushed them away. And now this woman was willing to risk her life for their monarch? And that statement, it's almost like a will. Why are they going this far when they're unrelated? I'll go in with you. Ji Sky frowned and stepped forward. No need. Tossing this down, Bai Yan did not want to say more than that and left with Bai Ning. Mother, let's go. No matter the dispute, Ji Sky's strength was undoubtedly the strongest while they were at the manor. So, for the sake of keeping Ling Yen safe, Bai Yan doesn't want this old man to tag along either. Otherwise, she wouldn't be comfortable going inside this ruin and leaving Ling Yen alone. Bang! As soon as the two ladies were inside, the gate acting as the entrance to this ancient ruin abruptly slammed shut. Elder Sky, this woman, who exactly is she? Fifth Elder asks with open strain plastered across his face. I do not understand them. They know very well that they might die inside or go missing like the monarch. Why are they going this far for us? Yunfeng's peril, 5. Ji Sky hung his head in thought for a long while before looking back up towards the closed gate. She closed the door to the ruin to stop us from dying? She closed the door for our sake? Can't be. She already expects to encounter danger? That's why she said that stuff about looking after Miss Ling Yen until the father comes around? Is that why? Elder Sky, you still haven't told me what happened between you and Mr. D yet. Fifth Elder was starting to get impatient and got all rowdy, making a bittersweet face. Before you came back to get us, I injured Mrs. D's mother. What? Fifth Elder's face changed drastically, his voice racy and panting with anxiety. Yo, you hurt her mother? Yes. Ji Sky closed his old eyes, that eyelash fluttering due to the guilt he felt inside. It's because of Guya. She came running over earlier tonight and claimed Mrs. D wants to become the monarch's wife. In order to achieve that, she was going to use me by gambling with Song's health. You know me. If Song really did become healthy again, then I would have been so grateful that she could have asked me for anything. But, thinking of what had happened, Ji Sky sighed and appeared all the much older with that deflated shoulder. Guya then told me Mrs. D doesn't have that sort of skill. Whatever she planned to do would end up killing my granddaughter. The mountains around the ruins were a tranquil calm with none willing to speak as they listened in to the whole story. As for the ending, they didn't need to guess because if Bai Yan were here then that meant the treatment was a success. Everyone knew how crazy Elder Sky could get if it's related to Song. If that girl really did die, he wouldn't be standing here and instead murdered the perpetrator for killing his only family member left. And then what? Fifth Elder got all edgy due to his peer for not continuing the story. You didn't ask for the details and injured the lady's mother, right? Ji Sky returned with a bitter smile and nodded. You know me. Whenever I hear something bad about Song I would lose it. I had intended to go find Mrs. D and get an explanation but was blocked by Miss Ling Yen part way there. Afterwards, that's when Mrs. D's mother showed up as well from out of the blue. I was in a panic and didn't think things through. So, I ended up hurting the other lady you saw going inside the ancient ruins. I really didn't mean to cause such a huge mistake. When the last words came out, a brief moment of silence fell upon this mountain once again, their eyes all looking towards the direction of the closed gate. There's worship in their eyes, and some were mixed with pure gratitude with shining light flickering from within. In their view, such a fine character of a woman deserves much respect. Not only did Bai Yan save Song, which proves her medicinal skills are beyond even that of Elder Sky, she also shut the gate in order to keep them safe here on the outside. How could they not be grateful when she's doing so much? However nice those opinions were, these idiots are in fact overthinking the matter. Truth was Bai Yan merely didn't want them to follow along and be deadweights. There's also the fact that she wanted a proper guardian for Ling Yen in case anyone attacks. Guya for one was a danger that she couldn't ignore. And then there's the other domains, who knows if they would send people over to assassinate her daughter while she's not looking. Yunfeng's peril, 6. Inside the ruins. Bai Yan's gaze flickered with light as she stared at the crossing bridge. Mother, wait here for me. I'll go test the terrain first. As soon as she said that, the Demon Queen's figure had already sped towards the other end of the bridge where the deep dark running water of the river flowed loudly beneath their feet. Due to her fast speed, Bai Ning couldn't catch on until the lady had already stood in the middle section. Like the information foretold, countless black mists began to materialize into existence as soon as this was done until it devoured her entire figure. There's something in there. Countless dark hands trying to pull her into something beyond this world. Yen. Bai Ning flew into shock. Wanting to save her daughter, this horrified mother didn't think twice and reached out with her hand to grab at dark mist. Unfortunately, instead of being devoured or grabbing hold of anything, her hands instead directly passed through the mass and out through the other side. Before long, the mist dissipated, leaving nothing but an empty bridge and a mother desperately crying out for a reply. Yen, how did this happen? Yunfeng's situation is uncertain, and now my daughter's disappeared too? But why am I still standing here safe and sound? Bai Ning clenched her lips and became a headless being that didn't know where to go. She's circling around the bridge for any clue, anything that she could grasp upon for help. Surrounded by a white vastness after being dragged away, Bai Yen blindly strolled forward without aim at this strange world. It's then when her mind was about to fade away, a beam of light shot into her eyes, causing the woman to shield her sight with a hand to not be blinded. In light of the difficult view, the Demon Queen became like a moth, being drawn towards that brightness. Eventually, she could no longer see anything aside from the light. Then abruptly, a hand grabbed her by the shoulder and dragged her out from the whiteness. Yen, wake up! The voice sounded very familiar, and for that her heart trembled. Without hesitation, Bai Yen shot open her eyes and took in that handsome face. There's obvious worry in the man's expression. Yen, you're finally awake? Bai Yen rubbed the temple as her head throbbed with pain. Warm in his voice, Heavenly loses his urgency and smiled. You were passed out just now. Yen, how come you are here? And how did you find me? The woman fell into a daze as she tried to organize her head. So I passed out earlier. That white vastness should be my own subconsciousness then, and the light is probably Father's voice. Otherwise, I wouldn't have woken up so soon. Father! Bai Yen shot her hands up and tightly hooked it around Heavenly's neck, her face leaning in against the man's chest. You're all right, thank goodness? Along the way, she has been worried sick about when Yunfeng's well-being, whether he fell into danger or worse, died. That would no doubt hurt everyone to no ends. Yenner, why are you here? Yunfeng's peril. 7? That's a long story, Father. I came to this domain by accident. Prior to then, I didn't know Heavenly was you at all. Bai Yen loosened her arms around the man and stared upwards at that handsome yet mature face. What exactly happened after you left the Misty Fairy house? How come you never came back or searched for us? Heavenly made a surprised face but quickly lowered his head in thought. I left home in an attempt to find your mother. It's during my journey that I remembered my previous life and figured out I was Heavenly Flame, the monarch of the heavenly domain. Clenching her fist after that detail, Bai Yen gets all tense in the face. Then why didn't you come back to find us? Mother misses you so much. She's always thinking about you. Going stiff in the body, the man's eyes fell into a trance, recalling back to that enchanting female whom he dreamed about for years. Yes, Ninger and I haven't seen each for so long. Now even our child has grown up and with child. Perhaps it's his mind remembering back to the happy times of his life. Heavenly's lip curved into an arcing smile. Yen, it's not that Father doesn't want to go see you and your mother, but I've made way too many enemies in the past life. In order to stop the endless war between all the domains, I had to forcibly seal away the path linking all the worlds. They all hate me for that. Unless I can solve these dangers, it's impossible to not drag you all into this mess. Reaching out, Bai Yen gently grasped onto her father's hand as she spoke. Father, you are so foolish sometimes. We are family, what difficulties can't we overcome? Do you not see me? I never back down before danger. Why would I or any of our family care if there are more? Her strength has been growing, and so has her roster of enemies. If she were to be fearful of death, then she would have long perished during her first encounter with an enemy. Chuckling at her daughter's strength, Heavenly shakes his head at himself. Yes, you are absolutely right, Yen Yen. I've been foolish. It took me a while to realize that, and it's only thanks to a child by the name of Ling Yen to make me understand that part. Oh right, once we leave this place I will introduce her to you. She's so adorable. I'm sure you will love to meet her. Grinning mischievously like a fox, Bai Yen gets all devilish in her tone. When we get out of here, I also have a surprise for you, Father. Father doesn't know Ling Yen is his granddaughter. I bet he will be quite taken to know he's gotten more grandchildren again. In order to avoid causing her old man from getting too impatient, the Demon Queen decides to keep the wonderful news till later. They're still stuck in the ruins, and rashness would only bring more harm to their situation. Ha ha ha. I can't wait to see your surprise then. Heavenly bellowed out a laugh. Yen Yen, didn't Xiachen always want a little sister? Why don't you introduce those two? I bet they will be wonderful playmates. Revealing a strange light in her eyes. If there's an opportunity, of course. What opportunity is there need to be? They're siblings. They already know each other since birth. Not long after Bai Yen stood up from the ground, a loud roar suddenly reached their ears from a distance. Frowning, Heavenly's expression got serious. They're coming again. Coming again? Asked Bai Yen with a puzzled face, making a small laugh at the situation. I've been here for months, and every half a month there would be a wave of monsters charging at me. Furthermore, I can't sense any essences of life in these creatures. It's like they're all puppets being controlled by something or someone. That roar you heard, it's the signal that half a month is here again. He's been here for months? If I remember correctly, he should have only been missing for a few days only? How did it turn into a few months from his mouth? Yunfeng's peril 8. Just as Bai Yen was musing over the inconsistency of the timeline, those monsters she heard had already come close enough to be in her view. At a glance, the Demon Queen could already notice the difference. They did not have a soul, more like a puppet machine that only knows how to kill that left the whole area muffled with a suffocating stench. To be clear, there are no signs of these creatures being controlled by anyone. Even so, she had no intentions of letting them kill her merely because they are acting on whatever wavelengths they are on. Drawing her Godslayer from the waist, Bai Yan's gaze turned sharp and cold at the first monster that drew too close. Swish! Smooth and precise, she sliced the beast directly in half through the middle. Father, how about we compete on who can kill the most here? Chuckling at the idea, Heavenly found it quite entertaining. Okay, today me and my daughter will have a good competition on who can kill more. Even if these monsters are lifeless drones, they still bled like any living creature. However, what they lacked in pain receptors were made up by their strong awareness in sensing intruders. Before long, hordes of monsters were drawing closer and closer until even the sky had darkened. It's as if the world's about to be covered by these things. Unyielding and unrelenting, Bai Yen has never been one to cower before a challenge. Another slash with her Godslayer. More were gutted with blood sprayed across the air. This woman's a genuine siege, destroying everything in her wake. Whatever advantage numbers had paled in comparison to her might. This was what Heavenly saw in his daughter as he took a glance after finishing his own target. Charming, mighty, powerful. A dazzling blur of red in this battlefield. How could this man not be happy to have such an incredible daughter? This was his child, his flesh and blood. In merely a few years of being apart, she's grown far beyond his wildest imagination. A proud father he was, and rightfully so. In a measly short hour, the hordes were decimated under the pair's might. There are innards littering the ground, red staining the dirt, and the stench of irony blood liquid filling the air that made the smell putrid to the nose. Despite this, the carnage could not compare to the bloodiness of Bai Yan's red dress. It's crimson, glowing even that oozes the stench of death and glory. I killed 55 monsters, father. Stabbing his own blade on the ground after wiping some of the blood off his forehead, Heavenly smiled. I killed 55 as well, cocking her brow in surprise at the number. Then that means it's a draw? Father, so these monsters will keep coming after half a month later? You certain about this? Bai Yen frowned as she scoped out the mountain of corpses here. She remembers this place being quite clean when she awoke, so what happened to those previous hordes of monsters? That's right, they will keep showing up at the half-month mark. Their strength will also grow with every wave. As for the corpses, you can just ignore them. They will disappear on their own along with the blood on our clothes after a while. The way Heavenly said that showed he's become accustomed to this pattern. Another proof that he's been fighting and not lying. How come you never thought about leaving this place? Bai Yan's already wrinkled forehead tightened further. It's within reason for her to be perplexed. If the timeline here moved faster than the outside, then he should have tried to leave a while back. Why stay and continue this fruitless fight? Then there's the detail about the monsters growing stronger with every wave. It would be a matter of time before those things grow so powerful that they would fail to fend off. It's a dead end if this continues. How can I not want to leave? Heavenly makes a bittersweet smile and shook his head. But look around, Yen Yen. Do you see an exit? I've searched the terrain and the mountain ranges already. It always led me back to this spot somehow. That's when I thought, perhaps the way to leave is to kill enough of these mindless monsters? Maybe then the exit will appear. Collapsed ruin 1. Bai Yen got all quiet. It's too dangerous to go on like this, and she doesn't believe there's truly no exit to reach the outside world. There must be a way, they merely haven't found it yet. Father, come with me. I don't believe there's no way out of this big place. Her eyes fell upon the big blue sky, those eyes carrying a determined light as they narrowed in. Unbeknownst to herself, the delay in here would have astronomical effects on the outside world by the time they actually leave. It's been several months since Bai Yen went deep into the ruins for the special rescue operation, and during this period the pipsqueak had never once left her spot on which she sat. Many tried to persuade her to go back to the manor, so she doesn't have to endure the harsh weather. But each time the child would refuse the request by stubbornly sitting on the rock she picked. Sky naturally worried for the security of the monarch manor after spending so much time away. However, he also knew he couldn't just leave this precious girl here in the wilderness. As such, the senior had no choice but to task Fifth Elder to go back first while he waited around the ruins with Ling Yen. And since Bai Yan's departure, Ling Yen hadn't said much at all, nor has she eaten a single bite of food in months. Fortunately for her though, even if she doesn't eat for months, she would remain unharmed thanks to the nourishment of the spirit particles in the air. Miss Ling Yen, your mother will be all right, so please eat something. Your body can't go on like this. It doesn't take much for everyone to notice the oddity with the pipsqueak's constitution. If it were an ordinary cultivator, then they wouldn't have much issue if they don't eat for months. But he couldn't sense an ounce of spirit particle in this girl's body. That meant she's not a cultivator and was keeping herself sustained through natural means. I'm going to wait for Mother. That's the first reply she's given to Elder Sky in these few months. Instead of being delighted at the response though, the senior only grew more worried. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Bai Yen entrusted her daughter to me. I can't let her suffer like this. If not, why don't we go back to the Monarch Manor and wait there? Sky tries again after much deliberation. No, if Mother doesn't come back then I won't leave. If she doesn't come back for life then I won't ever leave this spot. But, Sky's eye became grim over that statement. Right as he's about to say more, a loud bang suddenly cuts him off and causes everyone to look over to the source. At that moment, the original standing ruins suddenly fell apart and came crashing down in a roar. Everyone was stunned by this disastrous display, not able to understand what's going on and why it's happening. Ling Yen was equally as shocked, but that shock quickly transformed into horror and fear as she bolted for the rubble. Mother, grandmother! Her tears flowed down those cheeks, the expression desperate and panicking. It's dangerous. Sky flew into absolute shock and hurried forward to grab at the girl's little arm. He's equally as urgent but carried more control in the voice. You can't go over there, it's too dangerous. You let me go. The voice of the pipsqueak sounded angry. I want to be with Mother. I want to be with Mother forever. Collapsed ruin, too. Mother said she will come back. She believes in her mother. That's why the pipsqueak would never leave. SSSSSZZ. G Sky hissed a breath of cold air as he stared in astonishment at his own hand then. It's red from being burned from making contact with Di Ling Yan's skin. Out of reflex, the old senior wanted to retract his hand to avoid the heat, but thankfully he woke up in the nick of time and refused to let go. You big baddie. Let go of me. I'm going to find mother. I'm going to find my mother. Crying out loudly, Di Ling Yan continues to struggle from that hand holding onto her shoulder. As a result of this, her anger coincided with the rising temperature. If before the senior felt like he's holding a fireball, then right now he's definitely holding molten lava. Even so, Elder Sky knew he mustn't let go of this girl. Otherwise, she may disappear into the ruins forever. Before long, under this constant struggle, the crumbling slabs of the ancient ruin finally fell apart in its entirety. Now there stood nothing but a flat mass of rocks and the occasional metallic sheen of whatever that was before the collapse. Miss Ling Yan. Elder Sky saw an opening after the pipsqueak grew tired and quickly wrapped both his hands around her tiny body, his eyes equally as grim. This place is too dangerous. We must first go back to the Monarch Manor to determine our next course of action. I'm not leaving. Mother will come back. I promise to wait here until she does. Miss Ling Yan. I said I'm not leaving. Raging with inferno, even the temperature around the pipsqueak had started to broil over. Perhaps it's the heat, or the distressing situation of the end result of the rubble before their eyes. But the old senior's grip around the struggling girl's shoulder gradually loosened since the main danger has passed. Ling Yan may be small, but she's always been a stubborn one like her mother. Sluggish and swaying as she hobbled forward, the extreme sadness muffled any cry she would have had right now. This was despite the fact that she kept falling and scraping her knee. Any other time she would have cried at the sting. Mother, don't you want me anymore? She squirmed forward, appearing all powerless and lost. Ling Yan will be very good. I won't make Mother angry, so can you come back, okay? Answering her plea was nothing but the rustling wind of the leaves and the leveled rocks. This kid. It's painful to see her this sensible. G Sky didn't try to console her anymore and merely stood in silence on the back. He knows words would only make the pain hurt all the more right now. Pulling herself up from the ground, the pipsqueak suddenly forces a smile from that dull-looking face. Ling Yan believes in Mother. She has never lied to me. Mother will definitely come back. If from the beginning Elder Sky only believed the monarch only favored this child due to her adorable appearance, then right now he's of the opinion it's due to her personality. That level of trust and sensibility was a rare attribute no matter one's age. Path to escape 1. Miss Ling Yan, are you hurt anywhere? Do you need me to take a look for you? Elder Sky sighed and asked. Ling Yan shook her head, the childish voice landing with force. Mother suffered so much in her life. How can I be weak when I'm Mother's daughter? Her sight never once left the flattened ruins when saying this. She's proud like Bai Yen. That's why she won't allow herself to be treated as a weakling even in spirit. Then G Sky wanted to ask if she's willing to go back with him then, but his words never made it out of those lips before the child formed a smirk. I'm going to wait for Mother, and if she doesn't come out then I won't go. She believes that her mother would always come back. If she came out and didn't see her right away, Di Ling Yan was certain Bai Yen would be very worried. Seeing this, G Sky no longer said more about the topic. Sitting down right next to the child, his voice was loving and doting. In that case I will stay here with you. We will both wait for them to come out. On a vast stretch of grassland, Bai Yen weakly leans in with her back against a tree to rest, her red dress sticky and filthy from the bloody sweat incurred by the battle. What just happened? She asks her father that's standing to one side. Just now, after they dealt with the new wave of monsters, she felt a sudden sinking feeling from nowhere. At first the Demon Queen got very worried, but that sensation only lasted for a brief second before disappearing. I don't know, Heavenly responds, his face equally as grim despite the mighty and heroic contour. Narrowing in her eyes, Bai Yen wipes some of the sweat from the forehead and got up to cautiously scan the world around themselves. They've been here for quite some time already. Despite knowing the time was warped compared to the outside world, it doesn't change the fact that she's starting to get very worried. What's more, they've still yet to figure out an exit for this place. And then there's her mother Bai Ning and her daughter Di Ling, Yen, waiting on the outside. Father, we've been here for some time now. If this continues, then Mother will definitely begin to worry for us. I believe some drastic measures must be taken if we are to ever leave this place. Heavenly made quite the bitter smile, fully understanding what his daughter was implying. You've seen it for yourself, there are no exits in sight. The area will also change and manipulate our sense of direction if we move. What's your plan, though? I felt a sinking sensation earlier during the end of the wave. Bai Yan's sight converged upon the supposed sky above their heads. What's your thought about me breaking apart the sky? They couldn't stay here any longer. These monsters are growing increasingly more powerful to the point where they too are feeling the strain. Perhaps the next wave would be too much for them resist anymore. Breaking the sky? Heavenly appears startled by the idea, although he does not know how long the outside world had passed. But the guy knew enough that they've been in this ruin for years already based on the number of waves they fought thus far. And during this entire period, his thoughts were always on the ground, the floor. Never once did he thought about breaking apart the sky and going that route. Would it work? Path to escape, too. Since this time Bai Yan has raised the point. Maybe they could try? Okay. What do you need Father here to do? Heavenly slightly nods as affirmation. No matter what kind of attempt Bai Yan makes, as a father he must support her. No need. I'm just giving it a try. I don't know if it will work out. Casually raising her hand, Bai Yan summons her Godslayer out and wields it with grace as she locked onto the sky. Immediately, a light blade suddenly shot out of the sword and flew towards the open blueness. If at first she didn't pay attention to the blue sky here, then that changed the moment she felt that sinking sensation. She clearly saw the rippling in that ceiling. It's like a curtain, an illusionary mirage to blind their eyes from reality. That's why she's able to figure out the exit must be up there and not on the ground. Rip, so it's like that. Exactly like Bai Yan suspected. The second her energy blade made contact with the ceiling, it ripped apart down the middle in the same manner as a canvas being sliced. Both individuals revealed an uncontrolled joy on their faces at the sight. Even if countless monsters suddenly appeared out of nowhere in the sky and surrounded them in the middle, it still didn't dampen their delight, for they knew the direction has been found. These are all flying monsters, one of them. It's at the Divine Lord rank like me, Yen Yen. Heavenly's expression grew solemn at the sight of the creature, but his lips remained smiling nevertheless. How powerful was the owner of this ancient ruin? They must be much stronger than I am if they're able to control puppets at the level of a monarch like myself. Father, my instincts were right. The way to leave this ruin is through the ceiling. But, clutching her Godslayer, Bai Yan's lip arcs into a smirking grin. It looks like we won't be able to leave so easily. That big one up there is clearly the final boss in charge of guarding the ruins. Father isn't entirely wrong, it seems, about his theory of defeating all these puppets. It's likely the exit will show itself anyways once we defeat the final wave regardless. We merely accelerated the process. Yen Yen, I'll handle the strongest one up there. Can you stall the rest while I fight? Although the other monsters are not as strong as himself, but they're no small fries either. At the very least, the rest are very close to being Divine Lord level monsters too. Then, coupled with the weaker creatures further out of the encirclement, this horde was nothing to scoff at. I can handle it. Bai Yan's voice sounded unyielding and powerful. If there's only one way out of this place, she would face any enemy and never back down. Ha ha ha. Heavenly bellows out a hearty laugh and grinned with pride. That's my daughter. In this life I can ask for no better. My only regret is not being able to give you and your mother what you both deserve. But now I can at least do this much to redeem myself a bit. Seeing the flying monsters getting closer and closer, Heavenly gives one final glance at that perfect face to sear the image into his mind. He doesn't want to let this go, but he also knows the risk he's taking today. He might not survive to see another day if things don't pan out. But don't worry, Yen Yen, your father, I will make sure you somehow get out of here. Even if it means being buried here for good, nothing will keep me from being a parent. He owes her too much that not even a lifetime would be enough to compensate. What's more, she's his only daughter, someone who's suffered so much because of his own folly in the past. Simply dying was the least he could do as a failure of a parent. Path to Escape 3. Today, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to send my daughter out of this place. Even if the price is my obliteration. The man's voice rocked the air itself in how arrogant and mighty it sounded. His momentum acted in accordance as well and exploded into an undefeatable form. It's unknown how, but the news of Heavenly Flame's disappearance had swept through the countless outer domains by this point. As a result, many of the monarchs who were originally watching from afar regarding the situation of the waning seal could no longer stand idle. They've began to send their men into this domain in force. To be clear, it's not the first time these monarchs attacked Heavenly's turf. The difference would be that they never did manage to succeed thanks to G-Sky and the other deceased elders in charge. However, that's quickly coming to an end, for the last attack only failed thanks to the man himself returning for good. Now that the opportunity has opened itself up again, there's no way they wouldn't take it. After all, they hated Heavenly to the bone for sealing them away in their own realms. While G-Sky and Ling Yen quietly sat there in the valley awaiting the return of their important ones, a loud, urgent voice suddenly cut in from above. Elder Sky, things are not looking good. Hearing this voice of anxious urgency, the old senior's face furrowed up and focused onto the blue-colored dress. Second Elder, how come you are here? Elder Sky, the monarchs of the other domains have invaded. At the rate things are going, our forces will fall. The one speaking was none other than Elder Butterfly, the only female leader of the Monarch Manor. She's come at the behest of the others who are fighting heroically to defend their home right now. If not for that, she too wouldn't want to disturb the pair here. What did you say? G-Sky's face got very ugly then, his old expression wrinkling up into a red prune. How did the other domains get wind of our liege's disappearance? Those blasted bastards. First it's traitors among their ranks who acted as spies for the enemy in the past, and now there's another spy leaking information out to the other domains. How could he not be angry when the previous invasion costed his son and daughter-in-law's life? Let's go, we're getting rid of those bastards now. Right as the old senior was about to leave, he suddenly recalled there's also the little pipsqueak behind himself. As a result, the grandpa hesitated and grew troubled. Miss Ling Yen, would you like to come with me? The pipsqueak stubbornly shakes her head. I'm staying here to wait for Mother. If Grandpa Sky has something to do, it's okay to leave me here. Path to Escape 4. This won't do. I promised your mother to look after you. I can't leave you alone and not care. G-Sky's frown had now caused his wrinkles to become deep gashes, which also magnified his worry and hesitation. On one hand, if he doesn't go and help the Monarch Manor, then it would be destroyed. By then, countless deaths and injuries would occur. This includes his own granddaughter Song, who stayed behind at home. But if he leaves this place, though, that would mean he's leaving behind this pipsqueak after he promised to look after her in Baiyan's stead. No matter what he chooses, the result would hurt one or the other side. Carrying her lovely face to look up at the old grandpa. You should leave, you cannot let Sister Song be in danger, and the Monarch Manor's people are also Grandpapa's subordinate. I do not want to be the reason they get hurt. Grandpapa Heavenly is so kind to me. I mustn't be a drag on him for selfish reasons. But I also can't leave this place. I know Mother will be worried if she comes out and don't see me. Elder Sky, your strength is the strongest aside from the monarch himself. Only you can ensure the security of everyone over there. Don't worry. I will stay behind and watch over Miss Ling Yen. Elder Butterfly smiles and LCKI with the pipsqueak before nodding. Nothing will happen while under my watch. I promise this. In terms of power, Butterfly would be second among her peers, weaker only by Elder Sky. Okay. G-Sky mused over the idea for a second and agreed. Bringing Ling Yen back with him to the manor may not be the best option. After all, if a fight breaks out, he may not necessarily be able to protect her. If Elder Butterfly's willing to stay behind to care for her, then it's the best he could ask for. Miss Ling Yen, I will quickly deal with those attackers and return. Please stay with Elder Butterfly while I'm away. The old senior casts an uneasy look at the child. Due to the twitching in his eye, G-Sky didn't wait and hurried off out of worry for his own granddaughter's song. Just like that, he's gone after turning himself into a yellow bolt of lightning. Actually, the little pipsqueak gently scratched the sand with her tiny finger, her voice soft and tiny. Grandpa Sky isn't such a bad person. She could somewhat understand why the senior would behave so stubborn and rude since it's related to song. But the displeasure of her grandmother by Ning being hurt still made her unhappy inside. If the little pipsqueak drags her face by propping it against one of her palm. If mother and grandmother forgives him, then I will too. Surprised by the remark, Butterfly suddenly found herself wanting to chuckle at that childish behavior. What if your mother and grandmother don't forgive him? The woman smiled and gave the child a rub on the head. Looking up with those curious eyes, a clever light beamed out of them like a fox. In that case, I won't forgive him either, that's obvious. Speechless now, Butterfly helplessly shakes her head in amusement. Mrs. D is such a lucky woman to have such a wonderful daughter. Exactly then, the woman's finger froze from out of the blue, her eyes popping in shock as her body turned rigid. Slowly looking up, what appeared inside her vision was an old man in white standing not far away. He got there without her sensing him at all until now. Path to escape, 5. Perhaps it's the dispute between Gu Yen and Bai Yen from before, but Butterfly did not like this encounter at all and even found the old man in front of herself especially dangerous. Gu Lao, why are you here? Forming a smile at the question, the old and deceptive senior waves his hand like it's nothing special. Elder Butterfly, there's no need to be so wary of me. I'm merely here at the bequest of Elder Sky, whom I encountered along the way. He's changed his mind about leaving Miss Ling Yen and asked me to bring her back. Staring at the calm and fake face, the female elder didn't believe that story one bit, narrowing in her eyes. Miss Ling Yen does not wish to leave, nor do I believe your story. Not to mention Elder Sky would never hand such a task to you. That's within expectations. Gu Lao never expected his lie to work anyways. After all, if this female elder could be so easily deceived, then she wouldn't be called second elder of the Monarch Manor. It's just that Gu Lao's heart would nevertheless feel like it's being devoured by ants merely at the sight of Ling Yen being so well protected. It's unfair and stealing the love away from his milady Guya. Auntie Butterfly? Di Ling Yen pursed her lips and turned to the old senior with a finger pointed out. Is he trying to kidnap me so that the bad woman can eat Ling Yen? Popping her eyes at the sudden and strange question, Butterfly looks down in shock. Why would you say that? That bad woman kept trying to abduct me whenever she sees Ling Yen. If she's not trying to eat me, then what other reason is there? I bet I taste very delicious. The pipsqueak proudly cocks her chin up like being delicious was something worthy of gloating. I will wait for mother to come back. I won't go with these bad people. Twitching in the mouth, Butterfly got to hand it to this little one. Okay, I won't let anyone take you away, especially not this guy. She promised Elder Sky that she would not let anything happen to the pipsqueak. Even if she gets hurt, she won't go back on that vow. Gu Lao's complexion sank into a dark grim look. Butterfly, it's too dangerous to keep this little lass near the monarch, especially her mother and grandmother. They're definitely up to no good. Do you want them to take over the Monarch Manor or something? Getting cold in her face with a sneer on those lips. Watch your tongue there, Gu Lao. Who do you think you or Guya is? You're nothing but individuals adopted by the Monarch Manor in the past. Elder Sky already told us of Guya's origin. Merely someone saved by the monarch at one point and then refused to leave no matter how we tell her to. What qualification does she and you have in dictating who gets to stay in the Monarch Manor? Truth was Butterfly never had a biased opinion of Guya before. Even if Guya did steal the credit away from the elders by eavesdropping on their plan of summoning Heavenly back to their domain, the female elder merely believed the other side was too urgent and didn't think too much of it. However, the recent events of Guya showing indiscriminate injustice towards Bai Yen told her that's not the case. Against such a jealous person, Butterfly only had disgust and nothing less and nothing more. 0 is equal to 0. What do you know? Gu Lao grew furious and glared at the female. Milady merely loves the monarch far too much. What is wrong with loving a person? I will definitely grant my Mrs. wish. She will definitely become the mistress of the monarch manor. Ha ha ha. At the end of the day, Gu Lao has fallen into the realm of madness with his face overtaken by hatred. As long as these people don't exist anymore, then the monarch will be Milady's. No one can take away the happiness that belongs to her. Ling Yan, sensing the murderous intent coming off of Gu Lao, Butterfly subconsciously pulls the child behind herself, making an alarmed face. You think you're my opponent? Path to escape 6. Ho ho. Gu Lao sarcastically laughed aloud. The fact that I came proves that I have left my life aside. For my lady, I'm willing to give my all. My life was saved by the lady. Even if this time I must die and be buried here today, I'm willing. Butterfly felt it right after that statement. Energy swelled out of the aftershock from the power release, which made the woman's cheek sting from the burst alone. What did you do? She asked with gritted teeth, that face pale and alarmed by the drastic difference in their levels. I said so before. I will help my miss win her love. Gu Lao's momentum surged as he slowly strode towards Butterfly. Don't worry. No one will know or find out you were here once we're done. And if the monarch does find out, I will take the full blame. No one can hurt the lady. The female elder's eyes turned dark. Does Guya know about this? Of course not. How could an excellent and kind person like her allow me to do something this harmful? Gu Lao sneered. I came without telling her anything. This is my own decision. That made the female elder laugh hysterically. Contemptuous in the eye. Kind? Excellent? If she really is so excellent, then she should be able to let go when it's time and not entangle herself with the monarch. If she is so kind, then why did she malign Mrs. D before? She also tried to use Elder Sky's hand to remove her rival. What's kind about that? This is the first time I've seen such an excellent and kind woman, all right. Unbeknownst to the two confronting opponents, the child whom one wants to protect and the other wants to kill had started to behave strangely. She's still the cute and adorable self, but those eyes had a very unnatural way to them. It's as if there's something in there, something which shouldn't belong. Ling Yan, after dropping that remark, Butterfly bows down to whisper into the child's ear. I will keep this old thing busy. You run first and find a place to hide. Elder Sky will come really soon. Ling Yan did not respond to that, only staring at the old senior with a burning flame slowly growing bigger in those eyes. Stop me? No matter how small her voice was in that whisper, Gu Lao could still hear it with his ears. Sneering with a dismissive gesture. I used a special forbidden Dan pill to increase my strength. It won't be so easy if you think you can stop me. Dan pill? Cocking her brow, Butterfly figured it must be something he took before coming. She never saw him consume a pill once she noticed him, so that's the most logical explanation. What kind of pill did you take? She asked after musing over the news, guffawing a laugh. That you don't need to know. It's something I got many years ago. This is a good opportunity for me to test its effectiveness, so accept your fate. Aside from Elder Sky and the monarch, there's no one here that I fear anymore. She needed no warning to understand she's not an opponent for Gu Lao anymore. That violent air surging out of the old man was unlike anything she's seen in the guy. That proves he's not lying. Likely the pill he took was some sort of suicidal drug for a vast increase in power for burning his life force or something. It's not the first time this female elder seen something like that. Swish! It's exactly then Gu Lao finally attacked with whistling power, charging at the pair of females. Path to escape 7. Butterfly rushed to push Ling Yan aside, so she doesn't get caught in the crossfire. Boom! Gu Lao's fist made a direct hit onto the female's chest using this opening, causing her to stumble several big steps backward. There's blood hanging out from the corner of her lips due to the injury. To think his strength would become this powerful after using some forbidden drug. No matter, I only need to drag this out until the effects expire. Such drugs always had a huge drawback. By then I will counter and beat him. Anti-Butterfly, watch out. The pipsqueak cries out after seeing the foe attempts to follow up with a second attack. Every punch Gu Lao threw was a storm in of itself, unmanageable and unstoppable. Butterflies already found it difficult to cope with the barrage of hits. It only got worse when she noticed Ling Yan trying to run over again. Using a panicking voice, "Go now, Ling Yan, run!" Due to the little tumble from earlier, Ling Yan appearance was like a helpless baby that needs to be cuddled and protected in the way she moved. It's reasonable to say she's able to melt hearts with that weak image. I really don't get why this bastard would hold such extreme hate towards her. Does this bastard not have any shame? Gu Lao did not care one bit about the girl's appearance. He only wants to kill both of them right now. Pulling his sword right off the ground, he strikes down for the third time in a single moon slash at Butterfly to take her head. Unable to react in time, the female elder in her haste did the only reaction she could think of and reached up with both hands to catch that blade. She caught it, but only barely as the blade cut partly into her palm, thus allowing the blood to flow. There are trickles of red dripping down onto the female's head and onto her eyes. Snarling with cynical sarcasm, "Gu Lao, are you really going to do this?" Now the tip of that sword was only inches away from her temple, a short thrust away from slicing right through that skull. Surprisingly, the question caused the old senior to hesitate for a second. There's no lie in him hating Ling Yan, but he's worked with Butterfly for many years. Does he really want to kill her? The answer would of course be a no. But then suddenly, the splitting image of Gu Ya desperately pleading for help and crying with sadness ripped at his old heart once again. Whatever hesitation or softening of his heart swept away in that second, replaced only by the cold hardness of a murderer. If you two don't die, then how can Milady become the monarch's wife? Back then it was Elder Sky who gossiped to the monarch's ear and ruined it all. If not for that, she would have long become the mistress of the monarch manor. There never would have been the opportunity for her to be hurt by the likes of you or those rotten outsiders. Gritting her teeth with erupting anger after what she heard, Butterfly stopping trying to stop the sword with both her palms and instead directly grabbed hold of the blade with her fingers to stop it from moving 1 inch closer. His monarchness hates it when someone tries to control him. The fact that he didn't choose Gu Ya proves that he didn't like her. Whose heavenly flame? A man that could seal the other domains away using his own strength alone. Why would he be swayed by some simple gossip? No one could dictate what that man does. Nonsense. Gu Lao's eyes flared with anger. It's the fault of you all. You're the all hindering their love. It's all your fault. Losing all sense of his sanity, the old bastard flexes his muscle even hard and attempts to cut off those hands directly to reach Butterfly's head. As hard as the female elder tried to repel the blade with her own flesh and bone there, she's no match for this drug-induced Gu Lao. His strength has exceeded her own using that pill. It would just be a matter of time before it's over at this rate. Batty, you let go of Auntie Butterfly. It's unknown when, but the pipsqueak had ran over to the old scumbag's leg by then and opened her mouth to take one huge bite at that arm. Path to escape 8. The little girl's teeth were very sharp, so it easily pierced through Gu Lao's skin and caused his blood to flow down the child's mouth. Ah! Originally this bite did not have much strength to it, so he would normally make a frown at the annoyance. But for some reason, those teeths were searing hot. It's burning his skin, and that's what made the old guy flinch and loosen the grip. In his rage, Gu Lao ruthlessly tosses the child's side with a fling. Clang! The long sword in his also fell to the ground after being let go, thus causing a metallic sound on contact. As bloodied as her hands were, Butterfly did not have the time to worry about her own injuries right now and quickly ran over to check up on Ling Yan, who fell head first to the ground. She's extremely worried for the pipsqueak's health. "Miss Ling Yan, how are you? Are you hurt anywhere?" Coming out of her daze, Ling Yan slowly shook her head and got up under the woman's help, glaring fiercely at the bastard. "Don't bully Auntie Butterfly and don't bully my mother and grandmother. If you do, I will bite you to death." Baring her teeth, she attempts to act all ferocious to only end up all the more cuter. Under such an appearance, no one would have ever have imagined she's a little witch who had just bitten someone's arm. "Who exactly are you?" Gu Lao's sight finally shifted from Butterfly to Ling Yan. There's a scorched color on his arm, which was clearly not bitten, but burned out. In all the years he's lived, This was the first time he encountered such sharp teeth and a girl that can heat up like a pyre. "I'm my mother's daughter, don't you know?" Ling Yen pats away the dust from her dress, those eyes still very much irate. "I don't care why you are looking to make trouble for Mother and me, but you won't be allowed to hurt Mother or her people. If you do, I will set them on fire and burn them. When Big Brother is around, it's he who protects Mother. Since Big Brother isn't around, then it's up to me to guard her." "Humph! Nothing but an inexperienced baby." Gu Lao shouts this aloud with an ironic sneer. "Even your mother may not necessarily be my opponent, let alone you who can only heat up. As long as I keep my distance, then you can't do a thing." The old man raised his hand, and instantly the long sword which he held before flew right back into his palm from the ground. With a swing, he aims it directly at the pipsqueak for the kill. Ling Yen didn't move and simply gawked her eyes there. She only knows how to bite people and then set them on fire. No one ever told her what to do in this situation. If Big Brother is here, he will definitely know what to do. He will find a way. Suddenly, the pipsqueak's eyes shrank due to what occurred in front of herself. Standing in her way was Butterfly with her long blue dress. That outfit was a beautiful gown to begin with, but right now, the blossoming spectacle of blood gave it an even more dazzling look of a flowery pattern on her chest. Likewise, Gu Lao also didn't expect this and showed an incredulous look as he pulled the sword out of the female elder's body. The senior was equally as startled by this outcome. Why? Butterfly, who is always cold and disregarding of things around herself, would throw her own life away for a little child she just met? Why? Auntie Butterfly? Still taken aback by the outcome, Ling Yen did the only thing that came to mind and quickly ran over to help support that crumbling figure. Sadly, with her small arms and stature, the pipsqueak could hardly hold the woman up despite all her efforts. Admiration 1. Falling into the pipsqueak's arm, Butterfly's bleeding blood quickly stained the child's snowy white dress as well. Once there on the ground together, Auntie Butterfly, without hesitation, Ling Yen promptly pulled out a dagger from her waist and placed the blade against her wrist and cut it. Blood trickled down her tender little hand, allowing the drops of red fluid to fall onto the female elder's open chest wound. As hard as it was to keep her eyes open, Butterfly did manage to take in a glimpse of the situation. She saw the kid cutting herself for some unknown reason. However, the woman quickly understood why once the warm current flowed into her chest following the powerful life force entering her soul. Auntie Butterfly, don't sleep. Ling Yen will save you, you must not sleep. Red in the eye, the underlying tears refused to come out of the corner of the eye due to that stubbornness. Gu Lao felt a huge punch to his own guts when seeing that despised child going this far. He never expected a villainous character to use their own blood to save another. As such, his original attack of slashing down at the pipsqueak stalled in midair and held it there. For the second time in this fight, the old bastard fell into a loss. He's swaying in his decision to continue this, for he knows how cruel and vile his own actions are right now. However, like the previous relapse, his mind soon imagined the helpless and poor image of Guya pleading to him to like some sort of whisper, telling him to do it, just do it and everything would be finished. Whatever guilt or sanity he had got swept away in that instant, transforming into a ruthless and murderous gaze that locked onto the child once more. He's truly fallen. No matter what this little girl does, she's the one who broke Milady's heart. She must die, acting like she couldn't see the person already behind herself with that weapon. Ling Yen continues to let her blood run down onto Butterfly's wound. At the rate she's going, that visible wound would soon recover. This scene caused Gu Lao to squint in his eyes due to the surprise of her blood's ability. Despite this, the surprise only lasted for a second before his lips evoked into a sneer. Miss Ling Yen, don't move. I'll let you die in the least painful way. But if you resist, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold my hand properly and might slip. The pipsqueak did not respond. She's invested all her heart into saving the severely injured Butterfly. Whatever the old bastard wants to do was of no importance to herself. Seeing Ling Yen did not speak, Gu Lao figured any talks were over. Snorting coldly, he promptly stabs down with his long sword at the child's body. But His sword had not yet fallen when a burst of flame suddenly gushed forward from that tiny figure. The flame acted like a barrier, protecting the little girl's body from all outside attacks. Gu Lao became stunned, his eyes deep with shock. What is going on here? Suddenly, he recalled back to the moment where the girl bit his arm. The temperature was already mad hot to the point where even he had to flinch due to the heat. This little girl, what's her origin? The more he thought about it, the more unsettled he became. Growing firmer than ever without any hint of hesitation from the hearts down, the old bastard knew he must do this without fail. Otherwise, a great disaster would befall Guya afterwards. Understanding this, he wields his sword and draws an arc in the air, creating a violent current with the momentum and slashed down with fury. This strike carried his all. In this lifetime, he's never exhausted so much power in one slash, so he's confident it would work. Sure enough, the flaming barrier could not withstand the blow. Di Lingyan shot out like a bullet and fell several meters away from the impact, leaving the child ragged like a broken doll. She's simply laying there helplessly on the dirt without movement. Admiration, too. Ancient ruins. Under the gray, ominous sky, Bai Yan's heart suddenly soared with pain, causing her hand to instinctively clench the chest as her face turned palish white. Yen. Heavenly's quickly got ugly after noticing her daughter's chance. First blocking the sharp claw from the monster attacking himself, he flew away to come before the woman. He's very worried and tense in the eyes, for he knows something bad must have happened to make this proud daughter of his to behave this way. What's wrong? Are you hurt anywhere? Giving a shake of her head. I don't know what's going on, father. We have to get out of this place as soon as possible. I feel like something very bad is happening in which we can't see. Something bad? The man wanted to ask for more details to get to the bottom of this, but quickly tossed the idea aside. He could see they don't have the spare time since the hordes of monsters were already attacking again. What's more, the crack in the sky was letting more and more of these things through, which only emphasized the dangerous situation they are in. Biting his teeth. Sweetie, you leave first. I will draw the attention of these monsters. Originally he wanted to kill the leading creature that's on equal footing to his own first, but now it's apparent the plan needs to change. Naturally, the Demon Queen wouldn't just leave her own father behind to deal with this horde, but right now the ominous sensation was killing her inside. She's certain something must have happened to Ling Yan, perhaps something terrible. Just imagining that possibility was enough to drive her insane. Father, I will definitely come back and help you. When she finds Ling Yan, she would definitely return. Go with confidence. I'll be all right. Heavenly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth as he raised his palm towards the sky. In a roaring boom, a wall of earth promptly rose from the ground and cut the horde off from Bai Yan's spot. As someone who used the earthen wall, the guy naturally stayed on the other side to act as a shield. What are you waiting for? Seeing how Bai Yan was not moving, the man wrinkled his brow and yelled. As painful as it was, the Demon Queen finally relented and began to rise into the air for the crack. The mood only got more oppressive the closer she got to the crack. Then suddenly, right before she could make it through the monsters blocking her way, a pillar of fire shot out at her from above. In her haste, the Demon Queen only knew to dodge to one side and narrowly avoided the fire. But she couldn't catch her breath though. More and more flames were coming at her in sequence. Whip after whip, blast after blast. This was no better than fighting the monsters on the ground. Ling Yan is still waiting for me. I have to leave this place right now. Growing firm in the face, she ignores the danger of taking a direct hit and plowed right through it all with a giant release of her full might. She could see it now once she's inside that crack. There's darkness, but there's also a brightness at the end. Hope, that was the word she thought of at the whiteness. Whatever worry she had swiftly evaporated, for she knew she's guessed right. Without incident, she was back, directly standing atop of the wooden bridge like she was never gone in the first place. It's a strange feeling. One second she's flying through a dark void inside the crack. The next she's simply standing here like she's come out of a daze. I'm out? Did I really leave that place? What's going on here? Did I just get teleported back, or was it all a dream? It's so calm here, like the time I spent fighting with father is a dream I made up. Admiration 3. Yen Yen. A voice of joy came from behind. Bai Yen instantly swung herself around and saw that familiar face. There's pure excitement that's akin to someone recovering their lost treasure. However, right as the demon queen wanted to open her mouth and say something, she got cut off by a tense hug from the other person. She could tell right away due to that trembling arm. Her mother Bai Ning was scared. It didn't help either that her should had become soaked with tears a few seconds later. Thank goodness. Thank goodness you're back. Yun Feng is already in danger. I don't want to lose my only daughter too. Such pain, I can't bear it. Mother, were you here the entire time after I left? Bai Yen asks with pressed lips. Too fearful to let go of those hands, Bai Ning nods profusely like a panicking mother. You suddenly disappeared, so I've been looking for you in the ruins. It's been 3 months since you were gone. 3 months? A trance took over the demon queen's mind at those 2 words. It's been 3 months. Then how long did me and father spend inside that place? Mother, we don't have time to talk. Something might have happened to Ling Yen. We must leave this ruin immediately. Furthermore, she also needs to return to save her own father, so time was imperative here. What did you say? Bai Ning's face suddenly changed for the worse, her hand openly shaking as the grandmother gasped with horror. You said something happened to Ling Yen? How could that have happened? Didn't you entrust her to that elder Sky? Ji Sky's personality or way of handling things didn't sit well with either lady, but there's no question about the old senior's strength. There are unlikely anyone capable of getting past that old man unless he wills it. I don't know. I only got this sinking feeling that it's bad. My intuition has always been strong, so I can't ignore this. That said, the demon queen reached back with a hand towards her own chest on where the heart lies. Mother, we need to leave now. The ominous sensation has grown to the point she could barely stay put anymore. She's seriously afraid she might be too late. Yet instead of moving right away, Bai Ning's face got extremely white as she stood there. Noticing this strangeness, Mother, what's wrong? Perhaps the voice of her own precious daughter finally brought the grandmother back to reality. First making a distraught face, Bai Ning spoke with a stuttering. Yen Yen, after you were gone, I began to panic and searched high and low for you. Then I recalled it was Ditsong who sent me here, so I was certain he could somehow locate you. But when I wanted to go outside and find a way to contact him, the ruins suddenly started to collapse. The exit, it was sealed off at that time. Ditsong sent my mother here to the heavenly domain? Bai Yen became shocked by this detail. Those enemies which attacked the demon realm still hasn't been eradicated, so there's no way Ditsong could leave unless he hands their sons off to someone reliable. Since there's no one at that caliber, Bai Yen understood her husband wouldn't be able to help. But what's the deal with sending Bai Ning over? When did that guy have such an ability? Of course, these problems weren't the main issue right now. Saving Ling Yen was. Does that mean I can't get out of the ruins? Bai Ning smiled bitterly. That might be the case. Yen Yen, there's a likely chance we won't be able to leave. Impossible. Bai Yen punched a stone pillar nearby out of frustration. I refuse to believe that. I must leave right now. Ling Yen is waiting for me to go save her. Looking at the borderline crazy look in her own daughter, Bai Ning wanted to say something but swallowed the words back down at the end. She knows her consoling words were pointless and would only make it worse. Admiration 4. All right, then I'll keep looking for a way out with you. Bai Ning firmly says this, her eyes determined and bright. If Ling Yen wasn't in danger, then they wouldn't be so urgent. But that's not the case. They must locate the exit as soon as possible. Mother, we're going further inside. There must be another passage to the outside world here somewhere. Pulling her punch off the stone pillar, Bai Yen begins to walk towards the inner depths of this ancient structure. As for the poor stone pillar that's been left in their rear, the entire thing instantly crumbled into rubble once they were gone, leaving only a mass of dust in the air. Despite their determination, Bai Ning believes the path up ahead leads only to a dead end. She's already searched this part and most of the areas. There's nothing ahead aside from a big wall. Similarly, the grandmother also understood that even if she had told Bai Yen this, This stubborn child of hers wouldn't listen unless she sees it in person anyways. As expected, it didn't take long for a wall to block their way forward. Crunching her fist in frustration, Bai Yan's expression didn't show any emotions as she spoke. Since this is an ancient ruin, there must be other passageways we're not aware of. The ones who built this wouldn't have constructed the layout like that. Let's search the place. Okay. Bai Ning silently began to touch the floor and walls with her ears pressed in against them for sounds of abnormality. When Bai Yan disappeared in those months, she also searched for a long time in this manner since she didn't believe there to be only one exit. The issue was, she couldn't find the supposed passageways and fell into despair until her daughter suddenly returned. Suddenly, the Demon Queen's sight fell upon a certain painting hanging on one of the walls in front. The depicted female in this painting was not unfamiliar to Bai Yan. In fact, she's seen this person countless times already. Specifically, it's the same one from the ancient diary in her possession. Of the most impressionable feature regarding this individual would be the countless demons prostrating themselves before the woman in the painting. Though that time they were sculptures only instead of a painting, but the air and temperament were identical, where a single fox remains defiant by now bowing its head. It's just that the woman in this picture appeared a little different. Of course, the temperament and details were the exact same, but the vibe from the background accompanying the woman was totally different. Instead of a throne and mighty air, there's a peach blossom tree growing all over the mountain landscape. It's as if this painting was done by a third party which depicted their own version of this person. Yen, I've already examined this painting before. There's nothing special about it. Bai Ning did not want to waste too much time, so her examination was mainly restricted to a few minutes of physical assessment on her part. Bai Yan did not respond to that comment though. As if attracted by something inside that painting, she slowly strode towards the item. Alarmed by this odd behavior, the grandmother naturally wanted to pull at the woman's sleeve out of reflex. However, she suddenly realized something and held off her gesture. Mother, put it this way, the woman in this painting can be counted as half my Shifu. I honestly didn't expect her to be related to this ancient ruin though. Bai Yan explains with a mild smile. Without a doubt, the knowledge she gained from the ancient diary has propelled her alchemy and abilities by leaps and bounds. If she didn't have that, getting to this point might have required a much longer period, perhaps even a lifetime. So, I want to put this portrait away. That way I can honor her at a later date. Making a bow of her head, the Demon Queen immediately attempts to store the painting away by raising her hand. Admiration, 5. Let's go. Bai Yan took down the portrait and was ready to leave then. However, something unexpected occurred when the blood from her earlier battle with the monster horde came into contact with the canvas. The painting suddenly started to make a faint light after coming into contact with that red liquid. Since there's nothing special about this spot, we should go look elsewhere then. Bai Yan's eyes were more and more solemn as she said that, thus causing her to miss the strangeness in her hands. Yen. Bai Ning originally wanted to speak when she noticed the bright light shooting out of the painting and into her daughter's temple. This change came too soon and so fast that the grandmother could not react. Yen, are you all right? Do you feel unwell? The woman's eyes were full of worry as those hands clenched the Demon Queen's shoulder in urgency. Bai Yan did not respond to the questions from her own mother there. Going unresponsive in the eyes, she's looking all dull and phased out. What is this place? Like a wonderland. This place in which Bai Yan came to was blooming with countless peach blossom trees. Groaning as she touched her forehead, she begins to recall what had happened. If I remember correctly, I was with Mother inside that ruin. Then that light hit me in the head. That's right. It swallowed up my consciousness and now I'm here in this place. But why does this place look so much like the background in that painting? It can't be. I'm inside the painting itself? Narrowing her eyes in, Bai Yan scans the area with vigilance for any signs of danger. Yet, there was nothing. Silence, and the sound of wind blowing against the grass to make a rustling sound of calm greenery. That's all there was. I didn't find a way out of the ruins after searching for so long. Perhaps the way out lies here, within this painting. That thought in mind, She collected her head and moved forward. Very soon, the demon queen came ahead with a tombstone ordained by several peach trees. Mu gorgeous tombstone. These were the words engraved on the rock slab. Mu gorgeous? Rubbing her chin at the name, Bai Yan began to muse over the indication of this. So that person is called Mu gorgeous, eh? But why did someone make a gravestone for her in such a place? And how in the world did I end up getting in here? Thinking up to here, she once again fell into silence to organize her train of thought. Then suddenly, she seems to recall something crucial. Specifically, it's the speck of blood that came into contact with the painting when she was removing it from the wall. Could it be at that moment? In that case, the one who created the ruins outside must be the same one who created this world within the painting. Presumably someone who admires this Mu gorgeous. She mutters out her theory to make sense of it all. So where is the exit? If I can come in, then that means I can also leave. What is the key here, though? Looking around, the demon queen could see there's nothing but peach blossom trees growing here on the mountain. If there's anything worthy of note, it's the tombstone in front. No matter, I'll figure it out. First I need to pay homage since I'm already in front of her grave. She did after all leave behind the diary in my possession. Admiration. 6. Mu gorgeous was technically half her Sherfu from a certain perspective, so showing respect wasn't strange. Taking to the knee, she makes 3 full kowtows like one should at a worshipping ceremony. Bump! Then at the final hit of her head against the ground, the tombstone slid to one side to reveal a hidden passageway. Quite frankly, Bai Yan did have a momentary thought about this happening like all those drama shows she used to see as a child on Earth, but to have actually happen like in the script still left her dumbfounded. This is real. Is that easy? Making a gobsmacking face, she did not know how to react to this stroke of luck aside from jumping up with glee. Quickly gathering herself, the demon queen didn't hesitate for a second and dived right into the hidden tunnel. The passageway was bright once she got inside, the steps long and drawn out as she headed further downwards to God knows where. Despite the unknown, she knew it's better than staying idle. After a long while, Bai Yan finally came to the end of the stairs and hit a wall like before, this time with a long message engraved onto the surface. This life, gorgeous, is the one whom I cannot make mine. Years of war caused her to hate demons to the bone, and at the same time caused her to hate me to the bone. I, the great king, truly never thought the day would come where I would fall heads over heels for such an arrogant and overbearing lass. I do not know why I would love someone like her either, why her existence can occupy my heart to such a degree. I only know that in the moment where she stood under that peach blossom tree, that's when this lass ensnared my heart. She wasn't that clawing and feisty kitty anymore, but a quiet and enchanting butterfly in my soul. Sadly, I never realized this until it's too late. She's gone now, completely disappeared from my reach. If only my pride didn't get the best of me back then, perhaps I would have given her my all, even the entire demon race as a gift if must. I'm willing. But this girl, she's truly a stubborn one. I know her soul is avoiding me in the afterlife. I tried finding her to no avail. Maybe she thinks I would destroy her completely? I do not know. Maybe that's why I never got to meet her again. To think I would fall so low as to want to beg a female to return to me. So, knowing she wouldn't come back, I built this mausoleum and erected her tombstone at its center. I also transplanted the peach blossom trees she loved so much, hoping she would return someday and come here to see what I created in her name. Perhaps then she would understand my feelings. My time is coming to an end soon. If there is another life, I swear I will never let her go again. I will cling to her like vine until the end of time. The handwriting on the wall was clear and visible, causing Bai Yan's heart to fluster with emotion. Demons? This writer must be the ruler of the demon race back in the old ages. To think this individual would have such strong regrets in the realm of love. I wonder if this Mu gorgeous really went into the wheel of life and death? Or did she simply disappear out of existence? Bai Yan slightly lowered her eyes due to this thought. I remember Mu gorgeous mentioned something about going into the rebirth cycle, but did she really do that? Furthermore, the time from now has been so long. Would her soul remain the same? Or did she get reborn anew so many times that her existence has been erased completely? If the former were true and she remains, I would really like to meet such an incredible woman. However, casting another glance at the inscriptions along the wall, Bai Yan's eyes locked onto a certain phrase. I hope that if the last does return someday return? Why did the leader of the demons use the word return? Is it a coincidence that I ended up here? Or is it fate? Why do I get the suspicion the reason I'm able to come here is because of the inheritance from the diary? He doesn't deserve to live one. She slowly reached out with her hand, allowing the slender fingers to gently caress the handwriting on the wall. Brrr. Suddenly, the whole ground started to shake from out of the blue. Looking up, Bai Yan discovered a dark door appearing along the wall, like it's there to welcome her arrival. Without any hesitation, she pushed it open and walked through where a warm lady's chamber welcomed her view. It's very comfortable merely from looking at the layout. Somehow, Bai Yan got this strange sensation that she's lived here before. Unable to help it, the demon queen came closer to the big bed at the center. I don't know why I was able to come to this place and open so many secret doors, but I know you have a way to get me out of this ruin. My daughter. She's waiting for me outside, so... From the moment she came back out from where her father was trapped, Bai Yan's always felt a gaze overseeing herself from the dark. It's not ominous or coming at her with ill intent. It's more of the curious kind, so she didn't make a big deal out of it. But she's here now, where the sensation was at its strongest. It's time she got to the bottom of that spying. Don't think you can hide from me just because you won't talk. I know you're behind everything that's happened thus far. I don't know why you did this, but why don't you come out and talk? I know you're not doing it out of malicious intent. Cannot stay here. Bai Yan lightly frowns, her eyes revealing a strange light. Chirp, chirp. A chirping sound came from ahead after that statement. Locking onto the source, Bai Yan immediately saw a golden little sheikling gingerly protruding its head from the other side of the bed. Its gaze was curiously eyeing the lady who came into its territory. A golden chicklet? Bai Yan blinks in surprise, staring down at the little fella. Did you bring me to this place? The golden chicklet shook its head profusely. He's not lying. There's nothing wrong about him opening that dark door. But it doesn't explain why this woman was able to come inside here. Not you. Bai Yan wrinkled her brow. Ever since she laid eyes upon this little golden fluff feather, Bai Yan's certain that spying sensation hailed from the tiny thing since it disappeared in that very second they locked eyes. Then is there any way you can get me out of here? Moving closer, the demon queen reaches out to lift the chick-let off the bed to speak. Based on her speculation, this chicklet likely broke out of its shell not too long ago. The hair on its body was very small still, so it's very cute and adorable. Chirp, chirp. The tiny fella struggled under those fingers and made a sad and wronged face. It wants Bai Yan to let him down. Only if you answer my question first. Is there a way to get me out of here? Bai Yan's voice got a little heavier as she asked again. Ling Yan was waiting outside. It's bad enough she's wasted all this time going through that passageway. It's only going to get worse if she has to spend more time in this bedchamber, even if she does feel a sense of familiarity here. The chicken fell silent, its expression looking like it's thinking. After a long while, it finally nodded its head. Growing happy at the nod, Bai Yan swiftly continued. So what's the plan to let me leave? The chicklet struggled some more and broke free from that hand before heading further into the bedchamber. He doesn't deserve to live, too. See this? Bai Yan did not hesitate and followed from behind. The chicklet did not stop after leaving the bedchamber, but instead went towards the staircases. Twisting its buttock, he climbs the steps with much struggle. Luckily, the little fella's physical strength was quite good, so he didn't tire out during the climb. However, he did promptly plop down to the ground after seeing the peach blossom trees once they were on the surface. Where is the way out? Stopping right behind, Bai Yan gazes down at the panting golden fluff bird and asked. As if signaled, the chicklet climbs up again and led the way forward. There are countless numbers of peach trees here in this mountainous forest, but this was no problem for the golden chicklet. With every several trees they passed, the tiny guy would leave a mark on the earth to indicate their location. Finally, When the chicklet reached a certain one, he stopped and began to repeatedly peck at the bark to gnaw away at the inner fiber. This continued until the whole tree was entirely devoured by the tiny fella. Satisfied by his own deed, the tiny chicklet sat down due to its bulging belly and made a big burp. He didn't do this out for nothing, of course. In the past, that person told him the peach forest wouldn't need to exist anymore if someone enters from the outside. By then he could eat this specific tree that he's been conniving after for so long. Bai Yan took no action through all of this. She didn't know what's going on, but she's got this strange feeling that the tiny bird just grew by a notch in size. In fact, those fluffy furs also got more beautiful, like someone just painted an extra sheen of light on the surface. Just then, Bai Yan felt a whirlwind around herself as the world spun. The golden chick became extremely frightened as well. In his haste, he squealed and jumped up to Bai Yan's shoulder for shelter, its gaze carefully scanning for any movement around themselves. Due to how adorably cute the tiny fella was behaving, especially that exploding fur face it's making due to the shock, Bai Yan wanted to say something to help calm the bird. However, she quickly discovered the trees in the surroundings disappearing right before her very eyes. First it was the trees, then the earth beneath their feet, then even the ruins. They're all gone. Right now, Bai Yan had found herself floating in the void where there's nothing but an endless abyss. Back outside in the real world, dark clouds circled around the sky as thunder roared above. Ling Yan's body remains unmoving like a broken doll after being hit, her blood slowly seeping out of her little mouth due to the injury. Butterfly felt utter despair at the sight. Despite her own life-threatening wound, this female elder stands ready to defend the little one after pulling herself up. Gu Lao, you must stop this insane madness. Otherwise you won't know how you will die once the monarch returns. Throwing her bluff, the woman sneers sarcastically in an attempt to scare the other guy off. Unfazed and expressionless, Gu Lao's sword was already aimed at her chest. Butterfly, you are not my opponent, so move. What's the point of putting up a strong front? Is it worth it for such a tiny child? Wiping some of the blood from the corner of her mouth. I refuse. You're not my equal. The reason you are this strong now is because of the drug you used. Without it, you wouldn't even stand a fiddle to me. Unfortunately, a momentary boost was still a boost. Unless that drug wears off, she wouldn't be able to stop this bastard. Anti-Butterfly. Ling Yan had regained her consciousness and gradually climbed up from the ground, her hands tightly clinging onto the female's leg. He doesn't deserve to live, 3. You go back. The pipsqueak barely manages to smile there. I don't want anyone to lose their life for my sake. If you or anyone else does, I will live the rest of my life out in guilt. Please leave Anti-Butterfly. He won't necessarily kill you if you do. Growing heavy in the eyes, the female elder did not respond to the pipsqueak's plea. You're so old already, Gu Lao. Why must you bully such a young child? Don't you have any consciousness at all? Miss Ling Yan is so well behaved. Everyone in the manor adores her. How come it's only you and Guya who dislikes her as so? Gu Lao casts a cold, hard glance at the baby girl before calmly replying to that series of questioning. Because she doesn't deserve to live. None of the people who takes away the lady's happiness deserves to live. Even if it's a 2-year-old child, they are no different. In this very second, when the air felt ominously heavy, a loud explosive noise suddenly rocked the ground as a huge crevice began to open from the direction of the ruins. Gu Lao turned his head in surprise, apparently not understanding what had happened again. However, Ling Yan did as she caught onto the familiar whiff of smell hitting her nose. Without hesitation, she stopped crying and toddled towards the direction of that huge crack. Mother? I knew Mother would return. Mother always keep her promises to me. This? Butterfly's eyes were equally as shocked as the old bastard's. Not so long ago, the ruins had already sunk and caused everyone to lose hope, and now there's a huge crevice forming on the ground from out of the blue. No matter how experienced she was, the female elder still had trouble making sense of all these changes. Within a moment, a red light flew out of the huge crevice and came before the pipsqueak's view. Bai Yan's expected things were bad based on her intuition, but she never expected things to be this bad. Her daughter was covered in blood. For that, her heart wanted to explode as her lungs suffocated due to the extreme anger swelling out from within. Ling Yan. In a flash, the demon queen lunged towards her own baby and pulled her into a protective hug. This reunion was heartwarming, of course, but for the golden chiclet on the woman's shoulder. This meeting wasn't so nice as he got blown right off due to the blasted speed. If not for those tiny wings, he might have fallen heads over heels from the incident. Who did this? Bai Yan's voice trembled as she asked, the murderous intent all apparent along her eyes. Answering this was Butterfly, who made a regretful face. Mrs. D, I'm sorry. I couldn't protect your daughter properly. Mother. Growing tense due to how the conversation was evolving, the pipsqueak promptly spoke in Butterfly's defense. It's not Auntie Butterfly's fault, it's that bad old man over there. She did everything to keep me safe. Also, it's not as bad as it looks. My blood has healing properties, see? The cut on my hand isn't so bad. It's only a light scratch. It doesn't hurt. Despite the tears trickling down the baby's cheek, she continues to smile to act tough when in fact the dagger she used hurts a whole ton. He doesn't deserve to live for. Without uttering a word, as a stream of salty fluid trickled down onto her mouth from above, the demon queen gradually locks onto the mentioned old bastard after making sure this was real. Did you hurt my Ling Yan? She asks with the most menacing glare. Gu Lao didn't get frightened by that eerie glare though, sneering in his voice. That's right. Why? My Ling Yan did nothing, why hurt her? I've already explained this to Elder Butterfly before, and I have no reason for it aside from that she doesn't deserve to live. Holding himself high and mighty, Gu Lao doesn't even flinch when spouting that crap. This girl is just someone who wants to climb up to the monarch's bed. Why should I be afraid of anything? Loosening her protective grip around Ling Yan's body, Bai Yan suddenly bursts out laughing. It grew wilder and wilder until her very voice echoed across the entire valley, sending all of the nearby critters fleeing due to the creepiness. Good. What a good way of saying one doesn't deserve to live. Bai Yan's eyes pinned onto the old bastard as she began to trudge forward at him in a very scary manner. Since you are willing to spout such things, then I'm sure you won't mind paying the price for your own words. And you think you can make me pay by yourself? Gu Lao grew derisive in his smirk, dismissing any possibility of this woman being a threat. That's right, by myself. Bai Yan's voice now sounded chilling to the bone. However, before either party could make a move against one another, another third voice that was harsh and cold cuts in from the front. Who did you say doesn't deserve to live? Without a question, this voice was all too familiar to everyone present, so they didn't require a single moment to recognize it. Gu Lao's body froze as a result. Stiffly swinging his head at the source, that old figure started to shake as his vision landed on the sword like man casting his shadow over the group from the sky. He's back. Gu Lao's eyes shrank once. He took a better glance and realized there's another woman standing beside the monarch. That woman. Isn't that Mrs. D's mother? Why is she with the monarch? Monarch! Butterfly became ecstatic at the sight of her liege returning. Her mood's been thrown up and down lately, so it's taking a heavy toll on this female elder who nearly died today. The monarch is back. He's finally back. That's great. With his monarchness here, Gu Lao won't be able to make waves anymore. And Miss Ling Yan is safe now. Perhaps it's the easing of her tenseness coming too abruptly, but Butterfly's legs quickly gave way once she got those thoughts into her head. Without much of a struggle, the woman collapsed to the ground and started to laugh hysterically. Grandpapa! Ling Yan's eyes got all teary and red once she recognized who has come. However, the pipsqueak did not let those tears roll due to her own stubbornness. She wants to appear strong before Bai Yan. You're back. Seeing that Ling Yan's clothes were covered in blood, Heavenly's mood didn't fare so well despite the welcoming words. You hurt Ling Yan? The grandfather turns to the old bastard and asks after getting a grasp of the situation. Looking ugly in his face, Gu Lao grinds his teeth in frustration. Monarch, I only... Grandma! Before that reply could be finished, Di Lingyan had broken free from her own mother's hold and quickly ran for the two newcomers' spot after they landed. Bai Ning's heart almost stopped beating there once she saw the blood-ridden clothes on the child. Without fail, the grandmother also ran forward and caught that tiny body. "Quick, Lingyan, show me where you're hurt. Grandmother here will have a look." Giggling as she shook her little head, "It's okay, grandmother. I'm fine. The wounds have already healed. He doesn't deserve to live." 5. Grandpapa. The pipsqueak's smile was bright and joyous as she spoke. "This is my grandmother and mother. They are here to pick me up, so I'll be going home with them afterwards." The entire body of the man had gone stiff as a rock there. Slowly turning his head like a utter robot, he makes a cringy face like he's eaten a lemon. "Is this girl your daughter?" Answering with a blank face, Bai Yen replies in a dismissive voice, "Yep. Why didn't you mention it to me at the time while we were inside the ruin? I remember mentioning the name to you at least 3 or 5 times. Why don't you say she's your daughter?" Due to the excitement of this grand news, Heavenly's entire face was changing color now. Still bland in her voice, Bai Yen doesn't sound so motivated in her explanation. "That's because I was afraid you might get overexcited like you're doing right now. I had intended to tell you after we leave the ruins. Not like you are getting any younger, you know. It's not good to get too much stimulation at your age." Gu Lao and Butterfly did not expect Bai Yen to use this sort of a tone to speak to Heavenly. As a result, they're both staring at the Demon Queen in a weird way. Of course, the former being that of joy, since if the woman offends the monarch, then it would be equivalent to a death sentence, thus removing Gu Ye's love rival. And the latter, well, it's obviously full of worry. Butterfly opened her mouth then and wanted to persuade Bai Yen to change her attitude. Unfortunately, it's at this exact moment that her injury had a relapse like fate destined it. The female elder found her words stuck in the throat, forcing her to only use those eyes as a pleading sign to the pipsqueak to stop this demon queen. Ling Yen naturally saw Butterfly's expression, but she did not care too much in light of this. In her view, whatever her mother does was right. That's why she had no reason to stop it. "You?" Heavenly huffs a long breath to gather himself before shaking his own head helplessly at that childish behavior. "Only you would be so worrisome about me, thinking I will do something risky for Ling Yan's sake. I may not have raised you during your childhood, but don't think I don't know your personality and character." If Bai Yen had really told him about it in the ruins, he probably would have done something stupid and hurt himself out of impulse. By then, nothing good would have come of it. So, it's the right choice to keep it a secret from himself. Wanting to give her old man a cheeky smile after that comment, Bai Yen was halfway into that when her eyes fell upon the pipsqueak's dress again. Immediately, her half-formed smile flipped upside and transformed back into that of anger. "You and mother step aside first. I'll deal with this situation first. And when we go back, I'll apologize for keeping things a secret from you." At this moment, Gu Lao's brain was undoubtedly not working properly. All over his mind was the words Heavenly used. "Although I never raised you since you were a child." Raised you? What does that mean? Can't be. This woman is supposed to be growing up around the monarch? Otherwise, why else would he say something like that in an apologetic tone? Not waiting for him to understand the dilemma, Bai Yan's figure had already come before the old bastard. In his haste, Gu Lao hurriedly drew his blade upwards to meet the sword coming down at his head. Sparks flew at the metallic contact of the two swords. Lion in it. Stepping back several steps at the force, the old bastard found his arm going numb despite being able to repel the first strike. The strength of this woman, she's likely above that of elder butterflies. Even among the various ranks of the demi-divine lord level, which Gu Lao and Butterfly was at, there are still the strong ones and the weak ones. For example, Butterfly would be somewhere at the middle area while Gu Lao hit the higher barrier of the same level due to the drug. Right now, based on the old bastard's assumption, Bai Yan's strength should be equal to Elder Sky's, the second strongest in this domain. For that reason, his complexion had gone a little whiter as he continued to retreat under the onslaught of the Demon Queen's blade. "You took a drug? He doesn't deserve to live." 6. Bai Yen narrowed her eyes in as she accessed the old bastard's condition. This old thing should have taken some sort of drug to gain this much power. He did not have this much strength before. Pity. Bai Yan smirked with frosted delight. Did you forget I'm an alchemist who cured Jisong's illness? What? Gu Lao appeared dismayed as he looked up to that gorgeous yet frightening face. Out of reflex, the color literally drained from his own as he watched what the woman was doing next. First, Bai Yan pulled out a bottle from her storage ring and removed the cork to let a round green pill to slide out onto her palm. With a pinch, the object promptly turned to powder and drifted into the air like gas. Already ugly in the face to begin with, Gu Lao's expression grew even worse when he realized what was happening to his own body when he felt the effects. Whatever boost he had from the forbidden drug was diminishing rapidly. How is this possible? Gu Lao's heart got smashed in as the panic settled into those old eyes. Although he came ready to die today, but he did not expect that he would be killed by just anyone, let alone a woman whom he considers beneath himself. Monarch, Gu Lao hurriedly turned to Heavenly. Me and the miss went to the main world to bring you back. Out of that debt, can you help me this one time? If without me, you wouldn't have been able to return to the heavenly domain so smoothly. If Ling Yan had died, then perhaps he wouldn't have the courage to ask. But that's not the case, was it? That lass was perfectly fine still, so he still has a chance. Heavenly's sight fell upon the old bastard, those eyes sharp and daggering. Before I answer you, I want you to answer me this first. Let's assume I have a daughter, how do you think I would treat her? Of course that didn't go down the old bastard's head properly since he didn't want to think in that direction. That's an easy answer. You would cherish the daughter as the ultimate treasure. Based on how much love Heavenly gave to the pipsqueak, it's obvious the monarch would also love his daughter to the bone. Spoiling such a daughter would be the least of it. That being the case, Heavenly sneered and bared his teeth. What makes you think I would help you fight my own daughter? Besides, you also harmed my granddaughter. Boom! Darkening a sunny day with that detail, Gu Lao felt his world collapsing in on himself. Perhaps if the day wasn't so tense and dire then, he would perhaps connect the dots already by the first comment from Heavenly. However, his mind has already been warped, propelled into a state of radicalization. Whatever clue he was given, he's turned a deaf ear to it until now we're got a firm confirmation. So that's how it is. The monarch already married and had a child of his own. No wonder that's why he made that face when I asked him. Slowly closing his eyes, the old bastard finally accepts his own fate knowing what lies ahead. The power boost he got had already faded, so any hope was lost. Monarch, this is all my own work. It has nothing to do with the miss. She doesn't know anything. I hope you can spare her since she's not related to this. Bang! Bai Yan's sword cut down again after giving her father space to speak there. She's done with this person now that he knows why he's going to die and the reason behind it. PFFF. Spewing blood from his mouth from the blow, Gu Lao smashes into the ground in despair. Gu Lao's death, 1. I will decide upon Guya's fate once I investigate her involvement. You do not get to dictate my decision. Heavenly's daggering glare now got menacing as the threatening aura seeped forward. If I find out she's the one behind all this, she will not be spared regardless of what she's done for me. Gu Lao's body shook, his old face going ghostly white as he crumbled to the floor in a paralyzed state. If Milady really did make a mistake, the monarch wouldn't let her go for sure based on his character. Yen, let me carry out his execution. Heavenly went over and pats his daughter on the shoulder, that voice no longer violent and cruel. I don't want his filthy blood dirtying your hands. Facing that gaze beside herself, Bai Yan slightly nods her head in understanding. She understood this was her father's way of trying to redeem himself. All right. Swish. The moment Heavenly raised his hand, a random long sword promptly flew into his hands from the ground. Power gushed forward from his body, causing all of the greenery and trees to sway under his might. He's a true death god right now. Even the air around him was starting to distort due to the strength he released. Gu Lao's did not get to utter another word afterwards. Right when the old bastard opened his mouth, the sword had already pierced through his chest and into his heart, causing the blood to spray outwards like a fountain. Looking back at this moment, the old fanatic truly regretted his own decisions. If he had known things would turn out this way, he never would have chosen this route. It's one thing if he died alone, but it's very likely Guya would be dragged into the mess too. For that reason, he couldn't close his eyes even in death. Worst of all, that blasted pipsqueak still lives. If only I had moved a bit faster, then I would have taken her head and achieved my goal at least. Second Elder, I will remember your efforts in protecting my granddaughter. Heavenly says after pulling the blade out of the now dead perpetrator's flesh. He didn't forget the dreadful state Butterfly was in when he came out. Monarch, this is what I'm supposed to do. There's nothing to remember for. Whether it's right or not, I'll remember regardless. Caressing the little pipsqueak's hair, Heavenly's face was all smiles. As for you, sweetie, you can't call me grandpapa anymore. You got to start calling me grandfather instead. Understand? The pipsqueak appears all dull in her expression due to not figuring out the reasoning for that request. How did grandpapa become grandfather? And become mother's father too? You're really my grandfather? Tilting her head, the pipsqueak still didn't quite believe it. But if he's not grandfather, then why would mother be so anxious that day? She even entrusted me to the elders in order to go into the ruins to save him. As authentic as ever. Heavenly grins with those pampering eyes. And this little lass really is fated. No wonder the first time I saw her I would feel so close and want to kidnap her home. Turns out she's my actual granddaughter. Funny part was that he had intended to get Xiachen the steam bun to come kidnap her home if he couldn't. Turns out they're siblings. Gulao's death too. Now I don't need to kidnap her and she's already mine. Haha. Just thinking of that was enough to make Heavenly laugh inside, causing him to feel elated from the feet up to his head. Ninger. Heavenly now turns his sight onto Bai Ning after collecting himself. If his tone before towards Bai Yen and Ling Yen were that of gentle loving care, then this beloved woman that was his wife would be that of pure tenderness. I'm sorry for being so late in meeting you. Bai Ning smiled. It's I who should be saying sorry. I shouldn't have forgotten you, otherwise we wouldn't be apart for so many years. And I've caused my own daughter to suffer so much. Lan Yu's, foster mother for Bai Yen, temperament was good, so she was able to entrust her own daughter to that friend. What Bai Ning didn't expect though was Lan Yu's husband being a scumbag who would torture his own supposed daughter. Now just thinking back to her own mistake in the past was enough to make the grandmother clench her fist in frustration. This girl, it's her and Yun Feng's daughter, their essence of love. Chi-Chi, dissatisfied at being ignored for so long, the golden chicklet squeaked several times before jumping up to Bai Yan's shoulder to announce his presence. Mother, there's a little chicken. Di Ling Yen beamed with delight as she reached out with her hand in an attempt to catch the little fell. She's all sparkling in the eyes at such a cute fluff feather. Chi-Chi, there's anger in the chicklet's eye at the maltreatment. I am not a chicken, okay? I am an ancient golden phoenix. How can you compare me to a chicken? These humans, they're all so blind. Oh, I'm so frustrated. Chi-Chi. Mother, I have always been envious of Big Brother having little Rice accompanying him. Can I have this little chicken as my companion? The chicklet nearly fell off the bonkers at the request and shrieked in protest. Out of reflex, he also wanted to jump over and peck the little rascal for treating him as a toy. However, after seeing the lovely little face of the baby girl, the golden chicken found himself unable to move. He's a male, and a male that likes pretty things at that. Since Di Ling Yen was such an adorable little girl, there's no reason he couldn't turn a blind eye to that insult. Okay. Bai Yen plucked the tiny chick, let off her shoulder and handed it over to her daughter. From now on he's your partner. Due to his small stature, the golden fluff feather fitted perfectly onto the pipsqueak's palm as she held him with both hands. It's like they're made for one another. Since you're always making that Chi-Chi sound, I will name you Chi-Chi. You will be Chi-Chi from now on. Ling Yen giggled with delight as she eyed the fluff feather. Chi-Chi disgruntled at the vulgar name. The golden chick let protests by repeatedly squeaking. I refuse. Mother, Chi-Chi will grow older, right? Subconsciously and out of the blue, Di Ling Yen suddenly made a gulping sound. I wonder if he will taste good when he's bigger. Still protesting on one second, Chi-Chi abruptly stopped in the next after hearing that remark. Immediately, he shrank into a tight ball to erase his own existence. Smirking as she glanced downwards, Bai Yen found this quite amusing. He's probably not delicious. This chicken helped her, so it's only right she showed some gratitude. Sure enough, Chi-Chi sighed a breather at the help. He honestly thought for a second they might roast him for dinner. Oh! The pipsqueak makes a splendid smile in light of the disappointing answer. Chi-Chi, you don't need to be afraid. I won't eat you since you are my partner. But if you meet my second brother Jin Tian, then he will eat you though. It doesn't matter if you don't taste good, so you need to watch out. Gu Lao's death 3. Chi-Chi's eyes were full of horror to the point where he's ready to cry. This girl is comforting me. Or is she intimidating me? Father. Bai Yen rubs her daughter's hair before turning to Heavenly. How did you two leave the ruins? The Demon Queen's really starting to worry. Chi-Chi would openly wed himself if she allows Ling Yen to continue. That's why she wanted to change the topic. There was a flicker of doubt in the man's eye. I don't know what's going on either. One moment I was fighting that monster horde, the next I'm being dragged away by a strange force and out I came. Bai Ning gently pursed her lips and explained her part. I don't know the specific details either. Yen, weren't you the one who caused the ruins to disappear by doing something? Did something? Out of reflex, Bai Yen casts a glance at the shriveled-up Chi-Chi. Turns out he didn't just send me out. This little guy actually made the entire ruin disappear altogether. Monarch. Butterfly seems to have recalled something and grew urgent in her voice. During this period while you were away, the other domains have invaded. Elder Sky is currently dealing with the invaders, but I fear he might not be enough. Heavenly's gaze promptly grew heavy, his voice cold and hard. How did the news of my disappearance spread to the other domains? I don't know. Butterfly hung her head in apology, those eyes ashamed for her own incompetence. When Heavenly first returned, they had vanquished the spies that might have hidden themselves in the domain. The fact that the news still leaked meant there's a traitor among their ranks. Narrowing his eyes in, the man didn't speak for a good moment before loosening them again. Ninger, Yen, Ling Yen, we're going home. We're going home. Bai Yen did not speak as her eyes fell upon Gu Lao's now lifeless corpse. There's something weird going on in the sort of face she's making, like she's thought of something. The Monarch Manor. The sky had grown dark as countless individuals floated above the estate while gazing down at its defenders. Your monarchs can't come, so they sent you rabbles here instead? Sharp like a sword, Elder Sky confronts the enemy with a strong presence of his own. Ha 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 ha. A roar of laughter breaks through the empty space over that comment. Your own monarch is now missing, and we all know it. I advise you and the rest to surrender now in order to avoid further deaths. Otherwise, do not blame us for not showing mercy. Speaking was a senior donning a flax-colored robe, his smirk contemptuous and arrogant. Going slightly pale in the face, Elder Sky forces down his inner panic. Who told you that our monarch is missing? He's merely in closed-door training. He will come out later when called upon. This may be their home ground, but the other monarchs have sent their strongest fighting force for this invasion. No matter how the battle proceeds, it's going to be ugly even if they do come out on top. Furthermore, it's extremely strange that all the other monarchs would unite together. In the past, they only attacked on their own, never as allies. Ho ho, the same senior sneered with sarcastic note. We naturally have our way of finding out the details, but from my view, Heavenly is nowhere close to being a true celestial. If he was back then, he wouldn't have simply sealed the monarchs in and left a hole for the likes of us to transverse through at will. Rush back to the Monarch Manor 1. Thousands of years ago, Heavenly sealed the channels, licking the domains using his own power. It's just that. Tried as he might, the man lacked the necessary strength to completely cut off the link in its entirety. Therefore, it has now set up this twisted arrangement where the strong and mighty monarchs could not travel while their weaker subordinates could at will aside from entering the main world. Now we only want to know one thing. Heavenly Flame, is he alive? The most senior foe stares down at the defenders, his voice arrogant and brazen. Ji Sky's eyes grew heavy. Our monarch is of course alive. If that's the reason you and the rest is here, then that's enough, you can leave now. The heavenly domain does not welcome the likes of you here. Ha ha ha. The senior bursts out laughing. Ji Sky, you think we will believe that? I cannot sense an ounce of heavenly flame's energy signature. Since you won't tell the truth, then don't blame us for being impolite. His eyes gradually filled up with killing intent as he raised a hand to give the signal. Kill them. The order given. The battle has begun as the thunder roared and the howling cry for blood rained down at the defenders. Ji Sky's strength was indeed very strong, to the point where his name reigns supreme even among the other faction's followers. However, that doesn't mean he's unbeatable. With no time to think, Elder Sky promptly drew his sword to meet the oncoming attackers with his fellow defenders. Do not fear, our liege may not be at the manor right now, but he's going to return sooner or later. Until then, we must defend the estate. Unlike other powers, those living in the Monarch Manor are relatively united. And if they aren't, well, those people had long perished during the previous invasion by the other domains. That's why the Elder Council sought Heavenly's return. They needed a powerful anchor for the fresh and surviving blood. Unaware to most defenders, there's a particular woman hiding behind the masses of black dots which comprised of the invaders. Miss Yoon, this location is unsafe, we should go back. A maid accompanying the masked female spoke with crisp, clear voice. Yoon Ruoshi, old witch, coldly huffs a grunt at the nosy service maid. Quit annoying me. It was not easy for me to get permission from the monarch to watch this battle. It's fine as long as I'm not back at the celestial realm or demon realm. Still hesitant, the maid didn't sound so sure. But the monarch tasked me to ensure Milady's safety. Right now, I believe it's unsafe to continue watching from this distance. I implore you to leave immediately for a safer position. Is this how you're supposed to speak to your superior? Yoon Ruoshi's expression darkened into a menacing glare due to the way she's being addressed. She's always been held in high prestige at the Celestial Palace, so this attitude insulted her ego. Know that none in the Dust Frost domain dares to speak to me in such a manner. You are nothing but a servant to the monarch, so watch your tongue. Pinning the maid with her glare, Yoon Ruoshi was deliberating on how to punish this servant after she gets back. This vile old which has never been one to let others go. Now, who doesn't know that I'm the most beloved woman of the monarch? The maid looked stiff despite not agreeing. Nevertheless, she bowed her head to avoid further conflict. Rush back to the Monarch Manor, too. The monarch ordered you to serve me. That means you only need to follow me and do as I say. Know that any woman who goes up against me ends up miserable or in a ditch. Do you want to give it a try? Yoon Ruoshi began to cackle like a true old witch. She's seriously falling into madness now that the restraints are off. Fortunately for this vile being, the wind around her were extremely loud, coupling with the constant yelling from the battle beneath. None were able to pick up her voice. The maid's face went as white as one would expect, though. She's not happy about Yoon Ruoshi's style of being pompous and rude to everyone around herself. Besides, someone that hasn't even received a proper title from the monarch doesn't deserve such fine indulgences. Yet it's quite true, any female that got in the way of this old which did find themselves in the gutters at a later fate. Yoon Ruoshi saw the face the maid made there. For that, she's very pleased and grinned with baring teeth underneath that mask. That's the benefit of power. Now, I don't even need to hide my real self anymore. Like now, it's so pleasing to see the horror on their faces when I start making threats. And just you wait, Bai Yen. I have already reached a height you can never achieve. Once the Dust Frost domain attacks the main world, not even the demons can protect you anymore. Now stay quiet while I watch this show. Yoon Ruoshi was done and turns her attention back to Ji Sky and the others. This war is not something one comes across easily. Perhaps there won't be a second chance in a lifetime. What a shame. I've long heard of Heavenly Flame's name from those at the Dust Frost domain. He's supposed to be a rare genius that stands at the very peak. Too bad he's too blinding and doesn't know how to hide his brilliance. Now he's offended too many and will perish at the hands of those he deems beneath himself. In this old witch's view, even if the guy remains missing for now, he's going to die sooner or later. It's just a matter of time before the monarchs of the other domains break free. By then, the new rulers would come forward and she would stand by their side as the queen of all. Beneath the sky where the main fighting ensued, G-Sky could see several of his peers in the Elder Council was starting to wane in their ability to fight. In his urgency, the old elder cried out, "Do not give up. We must hold on until the monarch returns. Understand? If we fall now, then only death awaits us all." Sure enough, G-Sky's words had the added effect of revitalizing the fighting spirit of those who are ready to give up due to the fatigue and pressure. They understood that, if they are going to die anyways, then it's better off fighting. They are no cowards. Otherwise they wouldn't have been chose to be here in the Monarch Manor. Before anyone knew it, the darkened sky of gloom and oppression had dispersed to reveal the bright red sunset. The scene felt like the world's been stained with human blood due to that crimson shade. For this, the scent of death hovered in the air like an indispensable fog while warriors fell from both sides. G-Sky found his heart bleeding inside after he saw the newest causality among his fellow defenders. It was an elder like him, a good friend and a good comrade. Now the person was dead, laying there lifelessly with his eyes shot wide open in resentment. In a burst of rage, the mighty Elder Sky flew into a violent rampage with his sword. One strike to reap a head, a second sweep to decapacitate a foe across the waist. He became a walking death reaper on the battlefield. He wants revenge. Revenge for his fellow comrades. Behind the crowd of remaining defenders who was in charge of protecting the weak inside the manor, Guya stayed hidden behind a big oak tree as she watched the ensuing battle. She too didn't feel well as she cusped her mouth in horror at the bloodshed. How could this be? Why is this happening? It's not what I wanted to see. I only wanted to bring Elder Sky back by leaking the news. I only wanted to use them as a distraction so I can sneak away to where Heavenly is. Since that day where Elder Sky left with Bai Yen, she's been placed under house arrest pretty much. Rush back to the Monarch Manor 3. When the foreign enemy attacked, all the people sent to watch over the Gu estate were transferred over, thus allowing herself to sneak out. In a way, she succeeded in her plan. However, she could not find Gu Lao though before departing. Out of fear for her trusted attendant's safety, Guya reluctantly came to the Monarch Manor to seek the old man. But why is this happening? Haven't all the enemies who came to attack in the past not been blocked by the elders? She thought that when Elder Sky returned from the ruins, the situation would dissolve on its own. But that's not happening. Some of the elders are dead in front of her already. No, this is not what I wanted. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I only wanted to confirm Heavenly's safety. That's why I wanted to go find him. Did you reveal the monarch's absence? A light voice from the side then that caught the guilty woman off guard. In a flash, Guya's complexion became a ghostly white as she hurried to check who's speaking. Is it you? The young girl asked again with those unfriendly eyes. Miss Ji-song, please don't talk such nonsense at a time like this. Guya's face barely made a change when she smiled in retort. How can I sell out the monarch? Guya understood full well the consequences of admitting. That's why she must never tell the truth. Ji-song did not smile or frown, only staring deeply like she could gaze into the darkest secret of this woman. If you did it, the monarch and my grandfather will not let you go for this. Despite the voice not being intimidating or threatening, those words alone were enough to make Guya freeze up. Out of reflex, she began to sweat as a gulp took hold in the throat. Miss Ji-song is too funny. I would never go behind the Monarch Manor to do such a thing. Ji-song didn't buy it one bit and continued to glare at her. You know better than anyone if you could do such a thing or not. Guya wanted to refute such an accusation right there and then. Unfortunately, her voice disappeared as she opened that mouth to deny because those dead bodies had come into her sight once again. With the monarch's influence, he's bound to discover the truth that I did it. If there wasn't any casualty then it's one thing, but even some of the elders are dead. He won't let me go for this even if I didn't mean to do it. Miss Ji-song, I'm only here to look for Gu Lao. Have you seen him? Guya presses down her inner panic and barely managed to smile as she asked. Ji-song didn't give a reply to that right away. Instead, she slowly looked upwards at the invaders. Probably dead by now. Elder 6 and Elder 7 is already dead at the hands of these evil men. He should be no different. Her little heart has been set on Wuxia being the perpetrator of instigating this invasion, so her mood wasn't very up. What's more, she could see the flash of panic when she called out the woman. She may not be intelligent and sharp like her elders, but she's not oblivious to those who lie. Wuxia's figure appeared very stiff after that comment, pulling her lips into a frown. In that case, I will go look for him elsewhere. This matter was done at her own decision while concealing it from Gulao. That's why she must locate her attendant to discuss the issue, because only he could protect herself. Rush back to the Monarch Manor for. After a long stretched-out battle, Ji-Sky was gradually feeling the strain on his old self after deflecting the last blow. He hasn't given up, but strong will doesn't equal to physical strength in this case. Bang! Attacking from the rear in his moment of weakness, Ji-Sky did not dodge in time and took the blow bluntly. Dropping his sword, this old man could no longer carry his weapon and flew many meters off before plunging into the cold hard ground with that fall. Elder Sky! Those on the Monarch Manor's side exclaims in great fright at the sight. Grandfather! Ji-Song's heart jumped, her head a blank state as she ran towards her only family member. Little Song. After spitting out blood from due to the injury, the poor grandfather only saw the painful image of his granddaughter crying and running over. For that, his old face crumbled into horror. Don't come over! Back over in the sky, the leading foe took notice and waved his men to dive down for intercept. Immediately, Ji-Song was caught between several attackers with her in the middle. PFF. Ji-Sky once again spewed blood from his mouth at the situation, those eyes a reckoning of red. Don't any of you touch her. Whoever dares to touch so much as a hair on her will have their soul crushed under my fist. I will take you all to hell with me if I must. The enemy leader did not seem to hear the threat though, and instead reached down to bring the child into a choking hold with his hand. Ji-Song. All of the elders are very much frantic now as they attempted to break through the blockade for a rescue. Sadly, the enemy forces were many and they too little to resist. In retrospect, Ji-Song didn't appear frightened in the slightest despite being in such a predicament. You let her go. Let go of my granddaughter. Pulling himself up, Ji-Sky wanted to run over to be blocked by countless swords from the front. Old man, your granddaughter is in our hands now. If you tell us where Heavenly Flame is, then we'll let your granddaughter go. How about that? Saying this was a woman dressed in blue. Her sarcastic eyes fell upon Ji-Sky when saying that. They've been stalking the Monarch Manor for several days already, and the reason they didn't attack earlier was because they wanted more information regarding Heavenly's existence. If the guy was around, he would have come out by now. And as they all see, clearly the guy was either in great danger or seriously injured. Regardless, it's the time to press their advantage. Furthermore, imagine they managed to capture the infamous Heavenly Flame alive. That would be a merit worthy of going into the history books. My grandfather won't ever tell you anything. Ji-Song coldly met the blue-dressed woman, her head held high in proud proclamation. He is absolutely loyal to the monarch. Even if you kill me, he won't say a thing. Is that right? The woman slowly strolled forward and grabbed over Ji-Song from the guy. With slight flecks of her slender finger, a huge pinch of red promptly shone through the child's cheek after the act. Who doesn't know Elder Sky of the Heavenly Domain is extremely fond of his own granddaughter? I like to see if you are more important today or that Heavenly Flame is more important. Rush back to the Monarch Manor, 5. The woman in blue doesn't believe that this old guy would let his granddaughter die like this, hence the confidence her speech. Ji-Song. Ji-Sky's voice sounded a heart-wrenching battle cry as he crushed the blades into dust with his bare hands. All of you get out of my way. His momentum exploded, and those close to him stumbled backwards due to the effect. However, they soon stabilized their pace and again surrounded the old grandfather in the middle. Grandfather, Ji-Song swings her gaze over and spoke with a cool, calm voice. I am not afraid of anything, so you do not have to worry about me. You have to remember that you are the first elder of the Heavenly Domain. Some things are more important than me. Aching in the heart over his granddaughter's maturity, Ji-Sky spews another mouthful of blood as his momentum deflated. I told you all to let go of my granddaughter, are you deaf? What skill do you bastards have in harming a child? If you got the balls, then come at me instead. Song. She's just a child. And my only concern in the world. But betraying the monarch is not possible. Even if I don't know if he's able to get out of the ruins, that doesn't matter. What's more, next to the ruins, there is still Ling Yan waiting for her mother. How can I ever put that little one in danger after her mother entrusted that child to me? But if I don't say anything, then Song is bound to lose her life. Do I really have to let me one and only granddaughter die? Ji-Sky slowly closed those pained eyes, his mind returning back to the picture of how Heavenly single-handedly paid the price of sealing off the domains due to that righteous determination. Then after that scene, another image appeared with Bai Yen entering the ruins with the same type of determination. Gradually, the old elder shot open eyes again. With the hesitation gone, he returns his sight upon the young girl with the loving gaze of a grandfather. Little Song, are you really not afraid of anything? Ji-Song's sight fixes onto her grandfather with the same type of determination in those memories. I am not afraid. As long as we're together, then I fear nothing. Ha ha ha. Ji-Sky breaks out into a hysterical laugh at that. He continued this until tears gradually flowed out of those old eyes. How can I turn my back on the monarch manor when your parents died for the heavenly domain? My little Song, I promise you afterwards I will definitely get revenge on these people for you. Then I will accompany you to the afterlife so we can all be a family again. The other elders all stared at their leader with surprise. No one knows better than they do regarding the level of love Ji-Sky had for this child. She's his life. Without this granddaughter, he would be without a purpose. By then, what other reason does he have to live? Grandfather, Ji-Song softly formed a smile as her eyes beamed with pride. You are my hero. In comparison to saving a granddaughter, giving one up requires even more courage. Rush back to the monarch manor, 6. This way, the monarch would not die once he returns, and her grandfather wouldn't become a sinner. He would have succeeded in preserving his values and his name. The woman in blue had a slight change in her expression after that. Flexing her muscle as she pinched the child's hand, everyone could hear the sound of brittle bones snapping. In light of the excruciating pain, though, Ji-Song didn't dare utter a single cry. She's afraid her voice would make her grandfather regret and change his decision. Ji-Sky, I'll give you one last chance. If you don't say where heavenly flame is, then I'll strangle your granddaughter. The vile woman's eyes were cold and sinister as a snake. Song! Ji-Sky issued a despairing roar. Grabbing the nearest weapon he could find, the old grandfather slashed into the air with an arc at anyone who blocked his path. Come after me if you want to kill me. Don't touch my granddaughter. The other elders shared a glance with each and got a mutual understanding to enter the fray again. They want to break through the layers of obstacles to come to Ji-Song's aid. Otherwise, it would be too late afterwards. Ji-Song's breathing has grown increasingly more difficult as she choked under that grip. Knowing her end was near, the child wanted to give one last look at her grandfather before dying. Just another look. Tears flowed from the corner of the girl's eyes at that thought. There's so much yearning and sadness in there that it's heartbreaking. Despite showing no fear earlier, she's just a child after all. How could she really not be afraid of death? No! Ji-Sky desperately rushed towards his granddaughter's location, but there's simply too many foes ahead blockading his route. At this moment, he could feel his heart shattering into a million pieces after he noticed the speck of blood slowly dripping out of the child's mouth. It's the obvious sign she's going to give in at any second. Song! Deafening in his cry, the old man also starts spewing blood from his throat at the hopeless situation. The enemy saw this opening and most definitely took advantage of this. In their haste, they shot forward and pierced countless swords into the old elder's body. Song wanted to plead for her grandfather to stop after that. Sadly, her mouth could not find a voice as the last light slowly drifted away from those eyes at this despairing scene. This time, she reckons she won't be able to escape. Grandfather will die too. But she wants Grandpa to live well. The monarch can't be without grandfather. Ji-song gently closed her eyes in regretful resentment at these invaders. Now, the woman in blue only needs to give one tiny tug to end her life due to how weak she has become. And sure enough, that grip gradually began to tighten around the neck since the woman in blue figured this child was no longer of use. Stop, you stop this right now. Fifth Elder and the others also roared in absolute anger. Come after us instead. Don't hurt an innocent child. Song is only 10 years old. Do you not have any consciousness? Child. Back over in the sky. The flax-colored robe senior who's in charge of this invasion force sneered with delight. You are mistaken about something here. Regardless of you being a child or an old senile, you're all going to die. Everyone in the heavenly domain will die today.